Chapter 4167. Senior Zhuo. While Zhuoan and Shan Lingyun were getting along well, Samai and Tuo Sheng brought a group of Hushu tribesmen over. Actually, they were quite confused because Lu Yingying suddenly came to inform them that Zhuoan was going to bring them away from the witchcraft clan. Speaking of which, they had just arrived at the witchcraft clan and Zhuoan suddenly wanted to bring them away. Naturally, they were full of doubts. However, they instinctively trusted Zhuoan and did not ask any questions. They simply followed Lu Yingying out. Zhuoan smiled warmly at Samai and Tuo Sheng and said, "You won't blame me for suddenly saying that I want to bring you away, right?" Samai and Tuo Sheng quickly shook their heads. How could they blame Zhuoan? In their eyes, Zhuoan was their savior. They would not hesitate to do anything Zhuoan wanted them to do. Shan Lingyun pursed her lips and asked, "Disciple, what are you up to now?" Zhuoan's gaze turned serious. He said in a low voice, "I offended the newer clan. They will come to the witchcraft domain very soon. In order not to implicate you, I plan to bring you away from here first. Also, this person beside me is called Duan Jipeng. He is my best friend. He will be able to condense the cosmic image very soon. When he comes out of seclusion, I will help you take back the Hushu domain and take revenge for the annihilation of your clan." Shan Lingyun was stunned. Then, she looked at Duan Jipeng, who was beside Zhuoan, in shock. She did not expect that Zhuoan would actually make such a powerful friend in just a short period of time. Duan Jipeng smiled warmly at Shan Lingyun. He did not put on the airs of an expert. When the Hushu tribesmen behind heard about Duan Jipeng's cultivation, they were all excited. He was an expert with the cosmic image. This was an expert that could only be found in mid-tier domains and above. Such an expert could easily destroy an expert with a wave of his hand. If Duan Jipeng could successfully condense the cosmic image, not only would he be able to take back the Hushu domain, but he would also be able to take over the Gold Water domain, Divine Eye domain, and Purple Illusion domain. "Senior Lu, I'll have to trouble you this time. I'll take the Hushu tribesmen with me." Zhuoan waved his sleeve and summoned a huge divine ship. His gaze fell on Lu Yingying, who was hovering alone in mid-air not far away. Lu Yingying smiled bitterly and said, "Young Master Zhuo, I wish you a pleasant journey. Also, I hope you can forgive me for my lack of hospitality during this period of time." Zhuoan shook his head and glanced at Shan Lingyun, who had suddenly become silent. He could clearly feel that the little lowly beside him was estranged from Lu Yingying. Even though she was about to leave now, she had no intention of saying goodbye to her. Once all the Hushu people had boarded, Zhuoan steered the divine ship into the distance. In the blink of an eye, it had turned into a faint speck of light. Lu Yingying looked at the light spot that had disappeared into the distance, and a bitter smile appeared on her face. This was especially so when Shan Lingyun did not bid farewell to her in the end. This caused her to feel rather disappointed. "Brother Zhuo, we don't have to leave the witch realm. We just need to settle down in the most remote place in the witch realm and cultivate in seclusion," Duan Jipeng suddenly suggested not long after the divine ship had left. Zhuoan was stunned and revealed a trace of hesitation. "Brother Duan, after the newer clan people arrive at the witch realm, they will definitely send people from the witch realm to search the entire realm. If we continue to stay in the witch realm, we might," Duan Jipeng said confidently. "Brother Zhuo, have you forgotten about my astral weapon, the Dark Chakra Eye? Back then, I could use the Dark Chakra Eye to conceal Venerable Hongrui's death aura and prevent the newer clan from tracking us for 10,000 years. As long as we hide, no one will be able to find us even in the witch realm. Moreover, Mo Fengyu is a wily old fox. He's a smooth talker. After we leave, he'll definitely leak the news to the newer clan as soon as possible. At that time, if we really leave the domain of the gods of shamans, it's very likely that we'll encounter the newer clan. That's not something I want to encounter." Zhuoan was shocked to hear this. Duan Jipeng's analysis was reasonable. Mo Fengyu was indeed unreliable, and Duan Jipeng's Dark Chakra Eye was truly miraculous. Zhuoan thought for a moment, then agreed to Duan Jipeng's suggestion. Although the Hushu clan people had become friends with Zhuoan on the divine ship, they all had an indescribable respect for Duan Jipeng and didn't dare to interact with him. Duan Jipeng didn't care about this. He wasn't familiar with the Hushu clan in the first place. The reason he had agreed to help Zhuowen go to the Hushu realm after he emerged from seclusion was mainly because of Zhuowen. The divine ship headed south as fast as lightning. After about a month, they arrived at an extremely remote area in the southern part of the Witch realm. They found a mountain range that was shrouded in clouds all year round. Duan Jipeng built a cave residence in the depths of the mountain range and started to cultivate in seclusion. He planned to condense his cosmic form. Of course, before he started, Duan Jipeng also used his dark chakra eye to cover up the aura in the area. As for Zhuo Wen, he moved Flowing Flame's white jade palace out of the large world and placed it near Duan Jipeng's abode. When the Hushu clan people were brought into the white jade palace by Zhuowen, they were completely shocked. This was because the chaotic energy in the white jade palace was just too dense. When they saw the many precious cultivation resources inside, they were completely dumbfounded. "Disciple, where did you get so many resources?" Shan Lingyun quietly pulled Zhuowen aside and asked nervously. Shan Lingyun couldn't help but be shocked. The resources in the White Jade Palace probably far exceeded the total amount of resources that Huxley had when he was at his peak. She knew that Zhuowen was rich, but she didn't expect him to be this rich. This was really beyond her expectations. Zhuowen didn't hide anything from Shan Lingyun. He told her about the battle at Liu Yenji's grave and dispelled the doubts in Shan Lingyun's heart. "Senior brother Zhuo, there are so many resources. Are you really willing to let us cultivate?" Samai walked to Zhuowen's side uneasily and asked softly. Zhuowen looked over and saw many Hushu clan people standing behind Samai. They were all looking at Zhuowen uneasily. Obviously, they were still a little uneasy about directly cultivating with these resources. "Don't worry. Since I let you in, I naturally intend to let you cultivate. Don't you want to contribute to taking back the Hushu realm? If you don't have enough power, how can you take back your home?" Zhuowen smiled warmly. Speaking of which, the cultivation resources in the White Jade Palace were all left over from Zhuowen's cultivation. Most of the resources had already been used by him. Chapter 4168. After getting Zhuowen's promise, Shan Lingyun and the rest happily found a suitable spot in the White Jade Palace and started to cultivate. "It seems that if I want to break through again, I have to find a relic and obtain a greater opportunity or go to the extraterritorial battlefield," Zhuowen mumbled to himself as he watched Shan Lingyun and the rest leave. While Zhuowen and the rest were cultivating in seclusion, a group of uninvited guests came to the Witch God world. On this day, countless cultivators in the Witch God city raised their heads and looked at the northern sky. Then, they were shocked to find that at the end of the sky, streaks of flowing light were shooting towards them at the speed of an arrow. Following that, an extremely terrifying aura and oppressive aura spread out in all directions. In the Witch God city, all the cultivators' pupils shrank. Some of the weaker cultivators were even severely injured and spat out a mouthful of blood. Their faces turned extremely pale. Swoosh, swoosh. The streaks of flowing light were extremely fast and arrived in the sky above the Witch God city in the blink of an eye. Everyone finally saw the true appearance of the streaks of flowing light. They were huge beasts with vast auras. On the back of each of the beasts stood hundreds of cultivators with powerful auras. There were dozens of such beasts hanging in the sky above the Witch God city, causing many cultivators to feel a chill down their spines. The leading beast was the largest and had the most powerful aura. On the back of this beast, a middle-aged man with a sharp expression and wearing a black feather robe looked down at the entire Witch God city indifferently. Then, countless cultivators in the Witch God city saw the man in the feather robe slowly raise his right hand and then put it down gently. The chaotic energy in the surrounding tens of millions of miles seemed to have been summoned and gathered in the sky, forming a terrifying giant palm that covered the sky. They are all from the newer clan? What is he trying to do? In the Witch God city, countless cultivators looked at the scene in the sky in a daze. Naturally, they saw the figures standing on the beasts clearly. They were all in the form of a snake with a human head. In the entire 100 outer realms, only the clansmen of the newer clan possessed such a form. When they felt the terrifying pressure from the giant palm formed by the man in the feather robe, they all thought of something. Run! Run! They are trying to destroy the witch god city. The cultivators who reacted first screamed and started to run frantically out of the witch god city. Run! You are too naive. Today, the witch god city must be destroyed. All of you must die. The man in the feather robe softly muttered before his right palm smashed down. That giant palm rapidly fell. Boom! Boom! When the huge palm finally landed on Sorcerer God City, an earth-shattering explosion resounded in the air. After the explosion, an extremely dazzling light soared into the sky. It overflowed in all directions and covered the entire space. The terrifying explosion drowned out the countless screams coming from the witch god city. When the light faded, the bustling Sorcerer God City had been reduced to ruins. It should have been a huge city, but now, only a huge crater was left. Within the Sorcerer God City, close to 1 million cultivators were torn apart by the terrifying energy, as if they were vaporized. The man in the feather robe had destroyed a huge city like Witch God City with just a wave of his hand. His strength was unprecedented. Mo Fengyu, you're really hard-hearted. You watched the Witch God City being destroyed from the shadows and didn't do anything? The man from the Yi family placed his hands behind his back and looked toward the east with a faint smile on his face. As soon as he finished speaking, the space in the east suddenly distorted. Mo Fengyu walked out of the distorted space with several people. Mo Fengyu's head was lowered, and his expression was extremely respectful. If one looked closely, they would see that Mo Fengyu's eyes were filled with terror and fear. The people behind Mo Fengyu were Mo Liuhua, Lu Yingying, and the other high-level experts of the Witch God clan. Witch God clan domain guardian Mo Fengyu greets Lord Shenyu. Mo Fengyu hurriedly walked to the man in the feather robe with Mo Liuhua and the others. He bowed deeply, his eyes filled with shock. The man in the feather robe was called Shenyu. He was one of the 7 Dharma plane experts of the Newer clan. He had a high status and was extremely powerful. Mo Fengyu knew that the Newer clan would send someone, but he didn't expect them to send someone as important as Shenyu. If anyone else dared to destroy Witch God City as soon as they arrived, Mo Fengyu would have charged forward and fought with his life. However, if the person who destroyed Witch God City was Shenyu, Mo Fengyu would only feel a deep sense of fear. He wouldn't even dare to fart. Because the man in the feather robe was not only powerful enough to destroy Witch God City, but also the Witch God Sacred City. It was more than enough to destroy the entire Witch God clan. God Bless looked mockingly at Mo Fengyu, who was standing before him with his head lowered and his body shivering. Mo Fengyu, do you know why I destroyed Witch God City as soon as I arrived? Shenyu smiled warmly. However, in Shenyu's eyes, that warm smile was even more terrifying than a demon. He quickly lowered his head. After thinking for a while, he asked carefully, "Did I do something wrong?" Shenyu said calmly, "Then do you know what you did wrong?" Mo Fengyu thought of something. His body trembled, but he couldn't say a word. Shenyu ignored Mo Fengyu. Instead, he walked forward slowly and said coldly, "The Witch God clan is so calculative. You want to stay out of Lai Rong's matter and protect yourselves, right? It's a pity that you don't know how stupid it is to do this. Lai Rong died in the Witch God boundary, and he died right in front of you. Not only did you let the murderer go, but you also gave away the murderer's weakness. Do you really think the Newer clan's intelligence network is useless?" Mo Fengyu's pupils shrank. He suddenly knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing. "Master Shenyu, I had no choice. The man with the surname Duan next to Zhuoan can use cosmic dharma to a certain extent, and we also swore a heavenly oath. We can't be enemies with them, so..." Before Mo Fengyu could finish, a terrifying force slammed into his chest. "Poochie." Mo Fengyu grunted and flew backward. His face was as pale as a sheet. Chapter 4169. God Bless rubbed his slender, fair fingers as he looked at Mo Fengyu, who was kneeling before him and trembling in fear. His lips curled into a cold smirk. "Mo Fengyu, I'll give you a chance to make up for your mistake. Send out all the manpower and resources the Sorcerer God clan can muster to search the entire Sorcerer God world. If you can't do that, what right does the Sorcerer God clan have to rule the Sorcerer God world?" God Bless spoke slowly. His words were cold and merciless, sending chills down one's spine. Mo Fengyu hesitated for a moment and said, Zhuowen and the man with the surname Duan must have left the Sorcerer God world as soon as possible. Are we still going to search the Sorcerer God world? God Bless smirked. Idiot. The newer clan has already set up a trap outside the Sorcerer God world. We'll naturally notice if they escape. However, there's no movement at the border of the Sorcerer God world. Clearly, the two of them haven't left the Sorcerer God world. They're hiding somewhere in the Sorcerer God world. Mo Fengyu immediately kowtowed and apologized. He then said carefully, Don't worry, Lord God Bless. I'll do it for you even if it costs me my life. The cultivators in the Sorcerer God world were in an uproar. Especially when they heard that the newer clan's powerhouses had arrived and destroyed the Sorcerer God city in one move, the news spread like wildfire in the Sorcerer God world. Meanwhile, the Sorcerer God clan began to mobilize large amounts of manpower, resources, and intelligence to search for Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng's whereabouts. All of a sudden, everyone in the Sorcerer God world was in danger. They were jittery and extremely restless. Meanwhile, Zhuowen and the others who were in the southern part of the Sorcerer God world, deep in the remote mountain range shrouded in clouds and mist, had no idea what was going on. Time flew by like a white steed flitting by a crack. 1 month, 2 months, half a year passed in the blink of an eye. In the past half a year, the Hushu people spent most of their time cultivating in the White Jade Palace. Their progress was extremely fast. After all, the resources in the White Jade Palace were too abundant. The surviving Hushu people were basically the elites of the younger generation. They were all extremely talented. Among them, the ones who improved the fastest were Sa Mai and Ta Sheng. The two of them were originally at the early stages of the Celestial Devil transformation stage, but with the help of the White Jade Palace's vast resources, they managed to reach the pinnacle of the Celestial Devil transformation stage in just half a year. As long as they had an epiphany, they would be able to take a step further and achieve the Ancient Star transformation. During this half a year of time, Zhuowen seemed to be rather leisurely. He would either refine pills or set up formations, and when he had free time, he would seek guidance from Shan Lingyun in the art of spirit speech, and he was extremely carefree. This was not Zhuowen's fault. After all, his cultivation had reached a bottleneck. If he wanted to break through this bottleneck, he would need far more resources than the White Jade Palace. Therefore, before he gathered enough resources, Zhuowen didn't plan on cultivating because it would only be a waste of time. He might as well use this time to consolidate his Pill Dao, Array Dao, and spirit speech technique. Especially his Array Dao. Zhuowen had already reached the pinnacle of the first firmament of the eternal level. If he could break through again, his strength would be even more terrifying. At the same time, Zhuowen gave the 2 rank 7 astral weapon fragments that he had obtained from Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder to Xiao He. He still remembered Xiao He's stunned expression. He had almost knelt in front of him with tears and snot. Obviously, the 2 rank 7 astral weapon fragments were of great help to Xiao He. Perhaps they could help him break through again. It was no wonder that Xiao He was so excited. After obtaining the rank 7 astral weapon fragments, Xiao He immediately went into seclusion. He didn't even care about Shapotian. This made the little kid feel extremely wronged. He sat by the lake every day with tears in his eyes and sighed. Zhuowen sat beside the little kid. He patted the latter's little shoulder and comforted him with a smile. The little kid, who was originally sad, once again revealed an innocent smile. Zhuowen silently looked at Shapotian. Feeling the latter's powerful aura, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. What a peerless monster. The first time he saw Shapotian, he was only at the Dao confirming realm. Now that he saw him again, this kid had already passed the heaven's decay and reached the heaven-breaking realm. His current realm was the heaven-breaking first change, the divine fetus transformation. Moreover, Shapotian had also grown a lot. Half a year ago, he was just a baby. Now, he was a 1-meter-tall toddler. His growth was extremely fast. Speaking of which, Zhuowen was quite envious of Shapotian. This little guy didn't have any cultivation bottlenecks. As long as he grew, the little guy's cultivation would naturally rise. Suddenly, Zhuowen seemed to sense something and looked up at the sky above the great world. Shapotian also raised his head. That pair of innocent eyes suddenly became sharp. Master, what a powerful aura. It seems like someone broke through and isn't far from the great world. Shapotian's young and inexperienced brows furrowed slightly, and he said in puzzlement. It's my friend. Little Stone, I'm leaving first. I'll come to see you next time. Zhuowen rubbed Shapotian's little head. The latter pursed his lips, appearing somewhat unhappy. He did not say any words to urge him to stay and just obediently gave an O. After Zhuowen left the great world, he appeared in the depths of the endless mountain range. In that valley in the depths, there existed a deep and mysterious cave. This cave was the abode that Duan Jipeng specially built. At this moment, in the depths of this inconspicuous cave, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly surged out. The aura was like an abyss, pouring out without the slightest scruple. It was mighty and unstoppable. Although Zhuowen did not get close to the valley, he was also shocked by the terrifying aura and could not help but take a few steps back. Shan Lingyun, Samai, Tuo Sheng and the rest also left the White Jade Palace and gathered behind Zhuowen. This is. Samai looked rather shocked. Brother Duan should be about to break through. He may have successfully condensed the universe Dharma form. Zhuowen was in high spirits. He looked into the valley and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Samai, Tuo Sheng and the rest were wild with joy. The brother Duan that Zhuowen mentioned was naturally the extremely powerful man with the surname Duan. Once Duan Jipeng successfully broke through, they would be able to use his power to return to the Huexu region and wipe out the Gold Water Clan, Purple Fantasy Clan and God Eye Clan. They would then be able to take revenge for the annihilation of the Huexu clan. Disciple, you can activate the array of this mountain range. Now, the entire Wushan world is not peaceful. The people of the Wushan clan are almost all over the world looking for us. It's best not to make too much noise here. Shan Lingyun said solemnly. Chapter 4170. With Zhuowen's current formation's Dao standards, the power of the grand array that he set up was absolutely unique. Zhuowen nodded, but he still felt a little unconfident. After all, the cosmic aspect's tribulation was definitely extraordinary. He wasn't sure if the array he had painstakingly set up over the past few months could completely conceal the aura of the tribulation in this mountain range. Boom, boom, boom. Just as Zhuowen was deep in thought, a terrifying rumble came from the valley. Then, Zhuowen was shocked to discover that the space above the valley had collapsed. Bottomless cracks and black holes had appeared in the sky. Every crack and black hole was filled with dazzling tribulation energy. This kind of tribulation energy would be terrifying even if an expert of the Great Qian Kuan tribulation encountered it. There were many of these cracks and black holes, and they were densely packed. Every crack and black hole contained terrifying tribulation energy. Samai, Ta Sheng, and the other Hushu clan members gathered behind Zhuowen were all pale with fright when they saw the terrifying scene in the valley. Some of them even knelt on the ground, trembling. The cosmic aspect's tribulation was too terrifying. It hadn't even fully displayed its power, but the aura it emitted already had such terrifying power. Zhuowen's gaze also became serious. Clearly, the power of the cosmic aspect's tribulation was somewhat beyond his expectations. Thinking of this, Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and a pitch-black array disk appeared in his palm. Then, he took out the array disk. Immediately, rune-like patterns of light flowed on the surface of the array disk. When the patterns of light appeared, the clouds that lingered in the endless mountain range all year round were like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. They surged violently like rolling waves. The clouds condensed into giant dragons that danced freely in the sea of clouds. Upon closer inspection, these cloud dragons lingered around the mountain range and were scattered in 8 directions, forming the position of the 8 trigrams. The moment the array was activated, a figure floated out of the valley deep in the mountain range and slowly walked out. He came to the center of the valley and slowly raised his head. Looking at the dense cracks and black holes in the sky, his expression became extremely grim. Zhuowen and the others silently looked at this figure, but in their hearts, they were rather nervous. I wonder if Senior Duan will be able to overcome the tribulation of the cosmic form? Shan Lingyun asked worriedly as she held on to Zhuowen's sleeve. Brother Duan will definitely survive this tribulation, Zhuowen said confidently. He knew Duan Jipeng quite well. He knew that Duan Jipeng's methods and trump cards were extraordinary. The cosmic Dharma shouldn't be a problem for him. Boom. Boom. Suddenly, the surrounding space was filled with cracks and black holes. Endless calamities rained down. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Flames surged to the sky. Water flooded the Golden Mountain. Streaks of dazzling tribulation energy descended at an unimaginable speed and blasted Duan Jipeng's body without mercy. Duan Jipeng let out a long laugh. He clenched his fists, and the aura in his body suddenly erupted. The billowing aura shot up to the 9 levels of heaven. Then, the void behind him shattered into countless pieces. An extremely huge shadow suddenly stepped out from the depths of the void. This 10,000 zhong tall illusory figure was filled with a mysterious purple light. It was clad in a mighty and extraordinary armor. It walked over majestically, looking heroic and heroic. The huge shadow came in front of Duan Jipeng. With its back facing the endless calamities, it knelt down in front of Duan Jipeng and took the initiative to resist the terrifying calamities with its huge body. Boom. 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 The calamities bombarded and exploded with endless sounds of metal clashing. However, they couldn't break the purple shadow's armor at all. They couldn't even leave a scratch on its body. Duan Jipeng looked directly at the purple shadow in front of him and smiled. Roar. The purple shadow seemed to be telepathically connected with Duan Jipeng. It roared and suddenly straightened its back. Then, it took a step and turned around. It drew out the divine saber at its waist and slashed out. A terrifying saber essence spread across the entire mountain. The first wave of calamities was slashed into nothingness by the saber. So terrifying. Don't tell me this is. Shan Lingyun and the rest were stunned. The calamity energy of the universe Dharma power was extremely terrifying. They could see that. Yet now, this violet shadow had merely executed a single strike, yet it had obliterated the tribulation energy that was dense like rain. So, how could they not be astounded? This is Brother Duan's universe Dharma power. No wonder Brother Duan always said that if he didn't form the universe Dharma power, he would be like an ant in front of a universe Dharma power expert. Zhuowen sighed softly. There was no doubt that the universe Dharma power that Duan Jipeng had formed was much more powerful than the one that Liu Yanhua had. Duan Jipeng had also been completely reborn. His strength had reached an extremely terrifying level. Boom. 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 After the purple shadow destroyed the first wave of calamities, an even more powerful calamity energy surged out from the depths of the black hole. It was turbulent and terrifying. But the purple shadow was even more terrifying. All the calamities that fell were turned into nothingness by his saber. The calamities became stronger and more numerous. And the purple shadow didn't seem to be tired. It was in a deadlock with the calamities and blocked wave after wave of terrifying calamities. The purple shadow and the calamities fought from the sky to the ground, and then from the ground to the sky. The mountains collapsed, the lakes were destroyed, and the sea of clouds was stirred up. The array that Zhuowen had set up around the mountain was finally affected. It was on the verge of collapse and seemed to be very strenuous. Finally, the calamities reached the final juncture. The densely packed black hole suddenly merged together and formed a huge black hole in the sky. Then, in the depths of the black hole, a palm that was shining with colorful lights fell. This palm was too huge. It was even bigger than the purple shadow. When it came down, the entire mountain area was covered by its shadow. The purple shadow was not afraid. He stomped his feet on the ground and the earth shook violently. The purple shadow was like a god, rushing into the sky at a terrifying speed. When the purple shadow was in front of the palm, he suddenly pulled out his divine saber and slashed out fiercely. This saber was the purple shadow's strongest saber. The saber intent swept out and was extremely mysterious. The divine saber and the palm collided, causing a deafening explosion. Then, a terrifying aftershock quickly swept out. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He had to retreat with everyone. He looked at the purple shadow and the 7-colored palm that were in a deadlock. Crack, crack. Suddenly, an ear-piercing shattering sound was heard. Then, Zhuowen was shocked to find that the array that he had painstakingly set up had collapsed. And the incomparably valiant purple shadow fell from the sky, kicking up endless dust. The 7-colored palm trembled from the impact, but its surface was not damaged at all. Chapter 4171. In the depths of the sorcerer god sacred city, a man in a feathery robe, whose aura was as vast as the ocean, sat casually on the throne. His expression was lazy, and his posture was casual. Mo Fayu and Mo Liuhua knelt below the throne, trembling in fear. It's been so long. You still haven't found Zhuowen's whereabouts? The man in a feathery robe asked nonchalantly as he looked at Mo Fayu and Mo Liuhua with a cold smile. Mo Fayu shuddered and hurriedly said, Master Xinyu, we're already trying our best to find Zhuowen's whereabouts. Please give us a little more time. We'll definitely find them. As soon as Mo Fayu finished speaking, a glowing seal shot across the sky and landed on Mo Fayu's chest. Fart. Mo Fayu grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying and landed heavily beside the door of the hall behind him. He looked dispirited. Haven't I given you enough time? Xinyu stood up slowly. The laziness on his face had been replaced by sharpness and coldness. A violent murderous intent shot out from the depths of his eyes and shot toward Mo Fayu. Mo Fayu got up again and knelt on the ground. He kept kowtowing to Xinyu and begging for mercy. Mo Liuhua looked at the scene sadly. Mo Fayu was the ancestor of the sorcerer god tribe after all. He was the protector of the sorcerer god boundary, and he was a member of the sorcerer god tribe. However, they were like ants before the man in a feathery robe. They had no status at all. Mo Fayu was even begging Xinyu for mercy, which made Mo Liuhua very upset. The man in a feathery robe was about to attack, but he suddenly lifted his head and looked sharply to the south. Mo Fayu and Mo Liuhua both had their heads lowered. Naturally, they did not see the strange expression on the man's face. They only knelt there anxiously and did not dare to speak. Do you feel it? That's the aura of the cosmic disaster, the man in a feathery robe suddenly said excitedly. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua finally stopped kowtowing. They slowly raised their heads and glanced at the man in a feathery robe in front of the throne with a rare look of excitement. Let's go. Bring the elites of your sorcerer clan and follow me to the south. The man in the feather robe said coldly. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua hurriedly nodded and began to prepare the team. Once everything was ready, the feather-robed man led Mo Fengyu and the others out of the witch god sacred city, heading towards the southern part of the witch god domain. Poochie. Inside the valley, Duan Jipeng involuntarily spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression became very dispirited. Not far from him, there was a huge crater. In the middle of the crater, the huge purple shadow was almost torn apart. It was dim and lifeless, and its aura was weak. Obviously, the power of the 7-colored palm that appeared at the end of the cosmic Dharma characteristic tribulation was too terrifying. With one blow, Duan Jipeng's cosmic Dharma characteristic was almost destroyed. Fortunately, the 7-colored palm had a certain limit. It could only attack once. Otherwise, not only would Duan Jipeng's cosmic Dharma characteristic be destroyed, but Duan Jipeng's life would also be in danger. Zhuowen immediately rushed into the valley and came to Duan Jipeng's side. Brother Duan, are you all right? Zhuowen asked worriedly as he supported Duan Jipeng, who was on the verge of collapsing. Duan Jipeng laughed and shook his head. Then, Zhuowen discovered that the originally dispirited Duan Jipeng's aura was becoming stronger and stronger. It was like a surging river. I've finally passed the cosmic Dharma characteristic tribulation. From now on, I'm a true cosmic Dharma characteristic expert. Duan Jipeng couldn't hide his excitement. Zhuowen was also happy for Duan Jipeng. He also discovered that Duan Jipeng's aura was much stronger than that of an ordinary early cosmic Dharma characteristic expert. It seemed that Duan Jipeng had gained a lot from absorbing the essence of flowing flames. I'm afraid we can't stay here any longer, My heavenly tribulation caused too much of a commotion. It might attract the attention of the newer clan experts in the witch god boundary, Duan Jipeng said solemnly. Zhuowen nodded. The formation he'd set up had completely collapsed under the attack of the seven-colored palm. The commotion caused by Duan Jipeng's heavenly tribulation naturally couldn't be concealed. It definitely couldn't be hidden from the newer clan experts. Soon, Zhuowen gathered the Hushu clan members. He took out the divine ship and flew south. The mountain range they were in was close to the southern border of the witch god boundary. Hence, if they wanted to leave the witch god boundary as soon as possible, they could only leave through the southern border. As they already knew that their whereabouts might be discovered, they didn't intentionally hide their tracks. Instead, they flew as fast as they could. Not long after Zhuowen and the others left, a huge beast appeared in the sky above the mountain range they were in. God bless, Mo Fengyu, and the elite cultivators of the witch god clan stood on the back of the beast. Most of the newer clan's troops were stationed at the border of the witch god boundary. The guards were monitoring the border. Once they discovered Zhuowen's whereabouts, they would inform them immediately. God bless leaped into the depths of the mountain range. After checking it out, he smirked. Someone just went through a heavenly tribulation here. It's a cosmic Dharma tribulation. Looks like it's Zhuowen and the others. They're pretty fast. Have they moved so quickly? Mo Fengyu hurriedly came behind God Bless and said respectfully in a low voice, Master God Bless, there's news from the southern border. They've discovered Zhuowen and the others. They're currently barging into the border. Let's go. God Bless narrowed his eyes. He waved his sleeve and led Mo Fengyu and the others toward the southern border at a faster speed. Meanwhile, at the southern border, a troop of thousands had already surrounded the godly ship that Zhuowen and the others were on. Duan Jipeng looked at the cultivators with human heads and snake bodies in the troop and scoffed. The newer clan is really persistent. It's been so long, but they're still in the witch god boundary. Brother Zhuo, leave this troop to me. You guys go first. As he spoke, Duan Jipeng leaped out of the godly ship. He formed a palm with his right hand and slammed it forward. Instantly, a terrifying energy gushed out like a tidal wave, condensing into a huge palm in midair. The palm came crashing down like a falling mountain. It landed in front of the cultivators in front. It's a cosmic Dharma powerhouse. These cultivators were the elites of the newer clan. They had good eyesight and could tell Duan Jipeng's strength at first glance. However, although they had good eyesight, their strength was nothing to scoff at. Duan Jipeng destroyed them with one palm strike. There were hundreds of elite cultivators in front of them. Most of them were killed instantly while the rest were severely injured. Chapter 4172. The moment the divine ship left, Duan Jipeng turned his head slowly with his sharp eyes and scanned the remaining cultivator army around him. All the newer clan cultivators who met Duan Jipeng's gaze lowered their heads, not daring to look him in the eye. They trembled with fear in their eyes. It would be too easy for a cosmic Dharma adept to destroy all of them if such an adept wanted to. How dare you stop me? Duan Jipeng asked calmly. Everyone looked at each other and stepped back instinctively. However, they did not leave the encirclement because of that. They were under God Bless's orders to stall Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng at all costs. If they could not do that, what awaited them would be a punishment worse than death. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Duan Jipeng was also a smart person. Naturally, he knew that these people were stalling for time. Therefore, he did not plan to waste any time and attacked without hesitation. He casually threw out a palm strike. The palm print contained endless laws that shook one's soul. Another few hundred cultivators were killed by the palm strike. Duan Jipeng kept throwing out palm strikes. With just 3 palm strikes, the cultivator army that surrounded him was completely annihilated. Only scattered cultivators who were scared out of their wits fled in all directions. Duan Jipeng did not bother to chase after them. He took a step forward with his right foot and flew out of the southern border of the magical realm. Not long after Duan Jipeng left, God Bless arrived with a group of people. God Bless's eyes were filled with rage when he saw the mess at the southern border. How dare you kill so many of our newer clan cultivators in public? You must have a death wish. Then, God Bless ignored Mo Fengyu and the others. He took a step forward and entered the void, chasing after Duan Jipeng. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua looked at each other. After a moment of hesitation, they had no choice but to follow him obediently. Patriarch, we've sworn to the heavenly Tao that we can't go against Zhuowen and the others. If we follow Master God Bless to fight against Zhuowen and the others, I'm afraid we'll suffer from the heavenly Tao's backlash. Mo Liuhua said worriedly. Mo Fengyu's face darkened. He sighed heavily and said, how can I not know about that? It's just that we've already fallen into a dilemma, so we can only take one step at a time. Even though the backlash of the heavenly Tao wasn't life-threatening, it would absolutely have an extremely great impact on one's Tao heart. Not only would it be impossible for one to advance in the future, one's cultivation might even regress instead of advancing. As long as it was a cultivator who had sworn an oath to the heavenly Tao, they would never go against their oath unless it was absolutely necessary. This was also the concern of Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua. Suddenly, the communication jade talisman at Mo Fengyu's waist flashed. He frowned, but still took it off. When he read the message in the communication jade talisman, his expression became extremely strange. Mo Liuhua was curious after seeing Mo Fengyu's expression. He asked, Ancestor, who sent you the message? It's Zhuowen. Mo Fengyu said strangely. Mo Liuhua was stunned, and then he said with disbelief, what? This guy is too daring. He must know that the witchcraft clan has been hunting them for a long time under God Bless's orders. He actually dared to send you a message? Then he said. What did he say? Mo Fengyu hesitated for a moment, then said in a low voice, he wants to ally with us to destroy God Bless together. In the blue sky to the south, a divine ship shot across the sky like a comet. On the deck, just as Zhuowen put away the communication jade talisman, Duan Jipeng happened to fly across the sky and land on the deck. Brother Zhuo, who are you sending a message to? Duan Jipeng glanced at the communication jade talisman Zhuowen had just put on his waist and asked with a smile. Mo Fengyu. Zhuowen smiled faintly. Duan Jipeng's eyes narrowed, and he frowned. Brother Zhuo, Mo Fengyu, and the others have already joined the newer clan. Why are you sending them a message? I want to work with them to kill the expert sent by the newer clan this time. During this period of time, we've already asked around. The expert that the newer clan sent this time is called God Bless. He should be an early-stage cosmic Dharma expert. If we work together, we might be able to kill him. I just don't know if Brother Duan dares to try it with me. Zhuowen smiled faintly. Duan Jipeng chuckled. Why wouldn't I? The newer clan has forced me into a corner all these years. I can't wait to kill every single one of them. God Bless used to be one of the people who hunted me down. I've wanted to kill him for a long time. Duan Jipeng frowned. But Mo Fengyu and the others are fence-sitters. They're not reliable. Working with them is like asking a tiger for its skin. Zhuowen shook his head and smiled. Brother Duan, have you forgotten that Mo Fengyu and the others swore to the heavens? They can't go against us. If they do, they'll be devoured by the heavens. Of course, if we were still as strong as before, Mo Fengyu and the others would never work with us. But now, I've already revealed to them that you've successfully formed Cosmic Dharma. I think they're smart people. They don't have much of a choice. Even if they don't agree to work with us, it doesn't matter to us because they can't attack us. Once they work with us, we'll have a huge advantage. This is to our advantage. There's nothing to lose. Duan Jipeng couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Zhuowen's move was brilliant. The divine ship stopped in the middle of the vast underworld. Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng walked down the divine ship while Shan Lingyun and the others were still on the ship, hiding at the edge of the underworld. Clan leader. Is Master Zhuo really going to fight God Bless from the newer clan? Why don't we just run away? The Hushu clan members stood on the deck and looked at the two figures in the middle of the underworld worriedly. We can't run away. God Bless is a cosmic Dharma elite. His divine sense has a huge range and is already locked onto us. The longer we delay, the more God Bless can mobilize the newer clan members to kill us. If that happens, We won't be able to escape, Shan Lingyun said softly with a penetrating gaze. The deck was silent. Everyone finally understood what Zhuowen was thinking. This was indeed the best way to get rid of the newer clan. Master Zhuo hasn't reached the Great Carefree Realm, right? Isn't it a little inappropriate for him to participate in this battle? Samai said worriedly. Shan Lingyun smiled and said, "Don't underestimate my disciple. He's much stronger than you think and he has many trump cards. When the time comes, he'll surprise all of you." The Hushu clan members looked at each other and doubted Shan Lingyun's words. Chapter 4173. The vast underworld was shrouded in mist and clouds that looked like dragons. In the middle of the underworld, two slender silhouettes stepped on the calm water quietly. They seemed to be waiting for something with their eyes closed. Swoosh! A sharp air-piercing sound came from afar all of a sudden. Like a sharp arrow, it pierced through the vast mist and clouds in the underworld. The originally peaceful Jianghu was suddenly filled with water pillars that shot up into the sky. Meanwhile, the blurry clouds that filled the entire river were pierced through by the air-piercing sound. The rolling clouds rolled and parted as if they were split by a saber. In the middle of the underworld, Duanjipeng opened his eyes and looked ahead of the lake. The clouds parted as a silhouette came at lightning speed. The person was middle-aged. His face was fair and he was extremely handsome. However, his lower body was a snake's body that was covered in purple scales. The middle-aged man came from the edge of the underworld slowly. He was moving very slowly, but he appeared hundreds of feet away in the blink of an eye as if he was teleporting. Wherever the middle-aged man passed by, the underworld would churn. Water pillars would rise, forming a majestic scene of water pillars reaching the sky. The middle-aged man was one of the newer clan's cosmic Dharma powerhouses, Shenyu. The water pillars shot into the sky and fell, forming a dense curtain of rain that was like a storm. Zhuowen and Duanjipeng had an extremely powerful cultivation base. The curtain of rain that was formed by Shenyu's killing intent was blocked 1 foot away from them. Shenyu glanced at Zhuowen eerily and eventually fixed his gaze on Duanjipeng. He frowned slightly. What a familiar aura. I've met you before, haven't I? Shenyu glanced at Duanjipeng coldly. Naturally, he could tell that Duanjipeng was in disguise. However, Duanjipeng's aura was familiar. As for Zhuowen, he did not care about him at all. A mere ant at the peak of the ancient star transformation realm did not deserve his attention. Duanjipeng did not answer Shenyu's question. He smirked and said, "Cut the crap. We've been waiting for you here for a long time. Today, I'll take your life here." Shenyu narrowed his eyes and laughed out loud. He said, "Take my life? Just based on the fact that you've only just entered the cosmic avatar realm, and this ant beside you who's at the peak of the ancient star transformation realm?" After laughing, Shenyu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He said, "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Boom! A terrifying aura burst out of God Bless's body. Subsequently, a gigantic shadow stepped out of the void behind him. This cosmic avatar also had a human head and a snake body. It held a divine mace in its left hand and a lotus lamp in its right hand. Boom! Boom! The moment God Bless's cosmic form appeared, the entire river flowed in reverse and surged toward the sky. As for the falling rain, it stopped and hung upside down towards the sky. It was as if the entire Jianghu had become a transparent prison. "Brother Zhuo, remember what I told you. Step back first, I will create an opportunity for you," Duanjipeng whispered to Zhuowen, who was beside him. He also took a step forward and released his own cosmic form. Duanjipeng's cosmic form was covered in thick armor. Only a pair of crimson eyes could be seen as it stared coldly at God Bless's cosmic form. "This aura. It's really you, Duanjipeng, you stray dog. You actually dare to stay in the southern region of the 100 Outer Realms. You must have a death wish." When Duanjipeng released all of his aura, God Bless suddenly looked excited. Although Duanjipeng had disguised himself, he couldn't hide his aura. God Bless was just too familiar with Duanjipeng's aura. Duanjipeng looked calm. As soon as he released his aura, he knew that he couldn't hide his identity anymore. However, So what? As long as he killed God Bless, the newer clan would lose his trail again. It seems like you really want to kill me. Unfortunately, you're the one who's going to die this time. God Bless laughed out loud. He took a step forward, and the entire Jianghu shook. Countless water droplets turned into the sharpest hidden weapons and shot toward Duan Jipeng. At the same time, God Bless merged with his cosmic form and charged toward Duan Jipeng. Duan Jipeng dared not slow down. He merged with his cosmic form and waved his hand to shatter the water droplets that were coming at him. After Duan Jipeng blocked the first wave of water droplets, God Bless's cosmic form suddenly arrived. He swung the divine mace in his left hand and slashed Duan Jipeng's waist. Clang! Duan Jipeng scoffed. The huge cosmic form pulled out the divine sword from his waist. As soon as he swung the sword intention spread out like rain. As the sword and mace collided, heaven and earth shook. There were continuous, terrifying explosions. Meanwhile, the surrounding rain was torn into nothingness. Countless water dragons were formed in the huge Jianghu. Zhuowen retreated to the edge of the Jianghu quietly. He looked at the two huge cosmic forms that were fighting in the middle of the lake. He didn't intend to join in. On the other hand, Shan Lingyun and the others were stunned by this array. They had never seen a real fight between cosmic forms. They couldn't imagine how terrifying it would be. Today, however, they had truly witnessed the terror of a universal Dharma powerhouse. This battle is too terrifying. Senior brother Zhuo shouldn't join in. Samai looked at Zhuo who was not far away and said bitterly. The Hushu tribesmen nodded their heads. No matter how powerful they thought Zhuowen was, they couldn't be so blind as to think that he could fight against cosmic forms. The two cosmic forms became fiercer as they fought. They fought from the top of the river to the bottom of the river and from the bottom of the river to the sky. The sky seemed to have cracked and the Jianghu seemed to have collapsed. Heaven and earth seemed to have been torn apart. Laozu. Look, those are two cosmic forms. Master Shen Yu is fighting with the man with the surname Duan. The people from the witchcraft tribe finally arrived. On the back of the beast, Mo Liuhua pointed at the terrifying fight between the two cosmic forms and said in fear. Mo Fengyu lifted his head slowly and looked at the terrifying fight. He tightened his grip on the communication jade token. Let's not go over for now. Let's observe the situation. Mo Fengyu took a deep breath and said softly. Mo Liuhua opened his mouth. When he realized that Mo Fengyu had already made up his mind, he smiled bitterly and nodded his head. The battle continued. Soon, it reached its climax. The cosmic form with a human head and a snake body struck out with the mace in its left hand and the lotus lamp in its right hand. It exerted all of its strength and its power was terrifying. Duan Jipeng's cosmic form also exerted all of its strength. He drew out the two swords at his waist and charged out like a rainbow. Boom, 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 boom. The two cosmic forms collided. The terrifying aura seemed to have torn the sky apart and shattered the earth. The entire heaven and earth shook because of it. Upon closer inspection, Shen Yu's cosmic form had the upper hand while Duan Jipeng's cosmic form was obviously suppressed. There were even cracks appearing on its nomological body. When the two cosmic forms were in a stalemate, Zhuowen, who was standing quietly at the edge of the Jianghu, stepped out slowly. His reserved aura surged out like an erupting volcano. His aura was like thunder and his momentum was like a gale. Zhuowen's action immediately attracted everyone's attention apart from Shen Yu and Duan Jipeng who were still in a stalemate. Chapter 4174. Senior Brother Zhuo. Master Zhuo. The Hushu people who were watching the battle at the edge of the lake naturally saw the young man walking toward the center of the lake. They exclaimed in shock. Zhuowen did not stop. He took a step forward, and it was as if he had crossed thousands of miles. He arrived at the center of the lake in the blink of an eye. The horrifying suppression of the cosmic Laksana came crashing down like an avalanche. It was enough to crush any cultivator below the great unfettered realm. Even an expert in the great calamity of universe would be injured by the horrifying suppression. However, Zhuowen stood tall. His robe swelled up like a ball, and a powerful aura burst out, resisting the horrifying suppression of the two cosmic Laksana. What? This guy isn't affected by the cosmic Laksana expert's suppression at all? How is that possible? On the other side of the lake, Mo Fengyu stared at the young man standing at the center of the lake with his eyes wide open. The battle between the two cosmic Laksana experts had reached its climax. The suppression that radiated from every move was extremely horrifying. Even Mo Fengyu, who was at the pinnacle of the great calamity of universe, who was at the center of the battle, could not be so calm. He could act as relaxed as Zhuowen. A mere ancient star turned into an ant. Die for me. Above the middle of the lake, God Bless, who initially had the upper hand, naturally noticed Zhuowen who appeared below. He scoffed and waved his sleeve softly. An air blade that was consolidated by Dharma power fell from the sky. After unleashing the Dharma power air blade, God Bless ignored Zhuowen below and focused on fighting Duan Jipeng. In God Bless's eyes, the air blade was enough to annihilate the insignificant ant below. Above the center of the lake, Zhuowen stood silently. He looked indifferently at the air blades that were getting closer and closer. He took a deep breath and said, "Xiao Hei, let me see what you've achieved during this time." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhuowen flicked his finger, causing a blazing sword light to shoot out from his sleeve and shoot into the sky. The sword light emitted a dragon-like roar and instantly bombarded the chi blade. Then, Mo Fengyu and the others were shocked to find that the chi blade formed by the Dharma power was easily destroyed by the sword light. When the sword light faded away, they discovered that the sword light's true appearance was a divine sword with 3 colors: purple, black, and gold. The divine sword's sharpness was oppressive, and its momentum was like a rainbow. Facing the pressure of the two cosmic forms, it did not show any signs of being suppressed. Instead, the more it was defeated, the braver it became. After destroying the air blades, the divine sword pierced through the 9 heavens. It pierced through the boundless law barrier and slammed into God Bless's cosmic form. God Bless was focused on fighting Duan Jipeng. They did not care about Zhuowen at all. When the divine sword, wrapped in a terrifying sword will, rushed toward him, he was finally alerted. He watched in horror as the divine sword, which had pierced through the law barrier on the surface of the cosmic form, grew larger and larger in his eyes. Bang! Like a comet, the sword gleam brushed past God Bless in the blink of an eye. It turned around in the air and returned to Zhuowen. Drip! Drip! God Bless looked at his right palm in a daze. There was a ferocious wound that was an inch deep on his palm. Blood that contained boundless laws flowed out of the wound slowly and dripped onto the ground. Etchi! He hurt Master God Bless. How is that possible? Even the number 1 person on the Outer Realm Heaven leaderboard might not be able to hurt a cosmic form powerhouse with his ancient star transformation cultivation base. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua looked at each other. They were dumbstruck. Zhuowen's sword was just too shocking. They recalled how they fought against Zhuowen during the battle at the grave. They could not help but be shocked. With Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng's abilities, it would be a piece of cake for them to kill the 2 of them. Fortunately, they did not rashly follow God Bless and stand on the same side. Otherwise, they might have been killed by now. So powerful. On the other hand, the Hushu people were so excited that their faces were flushed. They looked at Zhuowen with respect. A rank 8 astral soldier? No, it's not rank 8 yet, but it's infinitely close to it. I can't believe that an ant like you has a astral soldier of such a level. It's such a waste for you to have it. Give it to me. God Bless looked at the Taiyu sacred sword next to Zhuowen in a sinister manner. Greed filled his eyes as he attacked Zhuowen without holding back. However, Duan Jipeng stood in front of God Bless the moment he attacked, blocking God Bless's attack. God Bless, I'm your opponent. Don't be distracted. Duan Jipeng smirked mockingly. You're seeking death. God Bless was enraged. He fought Duan Jipeng again while looking for an opportunity to attack Zhuowen. Unfortunately, Duan Jipeng's defense was impenetrable. God Bless did not have the opportunity to attack Zhuowen at all. Meanwhile, Zhuowen controlled the Taiyu sacred sword to join the battle. At the same time, he set up terrifying killing formations to attack God Bless. God Bless, who was supposed to have the upper hand, fell into a disadvantageous position due to Zhuowen's participation. Especially the Taiyu Sacred Sword and Zhuowen's killing formations that were constantly set up to harass God Bless. God Bless was annoyed and had many flaws. After God Bless destroyed the killing formations and the Taiyu Sacred Sword that attacked its vital spots, it revealed a huge flaw. Duan Jipeng seized the flaw and performed the killing move that he had prepared beforehand. The complete version of the Astral Soldier Dark Chakra was thrown at God Bless's back. The Dark Chakra's eyes that were initially closed opened all of a sudden. A crimson beam shot out. The crimson beam was not eye-catching, but the destructive energy contained in it was terrifying. It had destructive power that could destroy heaven and earth. The crimson beam was extremely fast. It landed on God Bless's back in the blink of an eye. Clearly, God Bless did not expect Duan Jipeng to perform the newer clan's ultimate treasure, the Dark Chakra, at such a crucial moment. Fear filled his eyes. As a newer clan powerhouse, he naturally knew the power of the Dark Chakra very well. Poochie. After the crimson beam penetrated God Bless's back, his chest exploded directly. The explosion was like a lit fuse that kept exploding in his body. God Bless's body, arms, legs, and head kept exploding. Blood splattered everywhere. At the same time, God Bless healed himself rapidly with his Dharma power and guarded his God's soul that was deep between his brows tightly. He knew that as long as his God's soul could be protected, he would be able to take the hit. Otherwise, he would die on the spot. However, Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng clearly would not give him the chance. The two of them attacked at the same time and began attacking God Bless at lightning speed. Poochie. God Bless spat out another mouthful of blood. His body was tearing and regenerating. Blood was gushing out of his body. Chapter 4175. Explode. The moment God Bless left, Zhuowen summoned a temporary dimensional portal and brought Duan Jipeng away from the place. Meanwhile, he uttered softly, "Boom, boom." An endless series of explosions resounded throughout the entire space. It was continuous and unending. Zhuowen detonated all the killing formation runes that he set up during the fight with God Bless. Although God Bless was fast, he was still engulfed by the terrifying formation runes explosion. He shrieked in agony. Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng stood side by side on the lake far away. They watched the terrifying explosion above the center of the lake calmly. God Bless is indeed a veteran cosmic Dharma powerhouse. He took the Dark Chakra's attack head-on and escaped from the formation runes explosion. Duan Jipeng frowned slightly. His eyes were like torches. Naturally, he sensed that God Bless's aura was disappearing rapidly. Naturally, it was not because God Bless had died from the explosion. Instead, he had escaped completely. Zhuowen sighed softly. Although he and Duan Jipeng had planned it perfectly, they thought they could kill God Bless completely. Unfortunately, they had underestimated God Bless's trump card. However, Zhuowen believed that even if God Bless managed to escape, he must have paid a terrible price. As God Bless escaped in a panic, Zhuowen's sharp eyes moved slowly and landed on Mo Fengyu and the rest who were far away. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua were shocked. They then rode on their gigantic exotic beasts and rushed over. They knelt on the ground as soon as they got close. "Master Zhuo, Master Duan, we were ignorant. We didn't know that the two of you had such powerful skills. We've offended you earlier. Please forgive us, masters." Mo Fengyu's legs were shaking as he spoke in a trembling voice. He was truly terrified. Even God Bless had suffered a great loss from the duo. One could see how terrifying their abilities were. There was no doubt that it would be too easy for Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng to kill them and the witchcraft god tribe. Duan Jipeng glanced at Zhuowen, signaling him to handle this. "The two of you, please get up. You guys are very smart. You didn't agree to help us, but you also didn't attack us. This is considered as leaving you guys a way out. Let's go. I won't fuss about today's matter with you." Zhuowen waved his sleeve and said indifferently. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua hurriedly expressed their gratitude and left in a hurry. "Brother Zhuo, are we just going to let them go? Duanjipeng's eyes flickered with killing intent as he watched Mo Fengyu and the others leave. They're no longer a threat to us. Besides, it's Mo Fengyu and the others' bad luck that we couldn't kill God Bless. When God Bless returned, they would definitely blame Mo Fengyu and the rest. By then, they would be doomed. Just think about it, Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Duanjipeng thought about it and couldn't help but give Zhuowen a thumbs up. He truly admired Zhuowen's meticulous planning. Let's go. We'll return to Hushu Realm first. After we're done there, Brother Duan, please come with me to Newer Realm, Zhuowen said with a smile as he looked at Duanjipeng. Duanjipeng chuckled and said, of course. Brother Zhuo, you've helped me so much. I'm not an ungrateful person. Not long after Zhuowen, Duanjipeng, and the others left Witchcraft Realm, the space above a vast wasteland at the western border of Witchcraft Realm was distorted. A figure in a sorry state appeared above the wasteland. Fart. God Bless held his glabella and spat out a mouthful of blood. His 7 orifices were bleeding and he looked as ferocious as a ferocious ghost. Zhuowen, Duanjipeng, just you wait. I'll make you pay for this. God Bless's face was pale and ferocious. The power of the dark chakra eye was too terrifying. He was still deeply affected and his body was hovering between collapsing and reassembling. What infuriated him the most was that his god's soul deep in his glabella was severely injured. Initially, his god's soul could withstand the dark chakra eye's attack. However, as Zhuowen's killing formation exploded all of a sudden, his mind was in a mess. The dark chakra eye's attack seized the opportunity and blasted deep into his god's soul. It was this moment of absent-mindedness that almost caused his spirit to collapse. If it were not for the defense that the Grand Lord had given him back then in his god's soul, he would have died immediately. There was no way he could have escaped. God Bless clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were filled with hatred. He dared not stay there any longer and continued to flee in the direction of Newer Realm. While God Bless was running for his life, Mo Fengyu and the rest immediately arranged for the talented juniors in their clan to move the elites of the Witchcraft God clan after they returned to Witchcraft Sacred City. They were preparing to leave Witchcraft Realm and flee to the north of the 100 Territories. Mo Fengyu and the rest were not stupid. They had no way out since Zhuowen and Duanjipeng could not get rid of God Bless completely. If they did not arrange for the Witchcraft God clan to leave, they would never have the chance to leave again. By then, they might have to face the disaster of clan annihilation. Time flew by. When Zhuowen and Duanjipeng's divine ship arrived at Hushu Realm, they heard the news of the Witchcraft God clan being annihilated. It was said that after God Bless escaped to Newer clan, the Grand Lord was enraged. He sent an army to surround Witchcraft Sacred City. Not only did they turn the huge sacred city into ruins, but they also slaughtered any cultivators who belonged to the Witchcraft God clan. The ruins of Witchcraft Sacred City were completely covered by mountains of corpses and seas of blood. It was a terrifying sight. Meanwhile, Mo Fengyu and the other important figures of the Witchcraft God clan had fled to the north long ago. Therefore, they managed to avoid the inhumane massacre. After the collapse of the Witch God Sacred City, the head of the Newer clan had sacrificed 30% of the population of the Witch God domain to an astral weapon fragment to punish Mo Fengyu and the others for their crime of escaping. Zhuowen was very calm after hearing the news. He already knew that Newer clan would not let it go. However, he did not expect the Grand Lord of Newer clan to implicate the innocent. 30% of the population of Witchcraft Realm was sacrificed. It could be described as inhumane. The Grand Lord is really cruel. He killed tens of millions of people just like that. When Duanjipeng heard this news, he was filled with righteous indignation. Zhuowen did not say anything. However, he did not look happy either. After all, he could not stand the Grand Lord's actions. After Zhuowen and the rest entered Hushu Realm, they headed straight to Hushu Sacred City, the core of Hushu Realm. They stayed in the hall along the way. After Huxley clan was annihilated, they had a rough understanding of the situation in Hushu Realm. Chapter 4176. Under the oppression of the 3 clans, although most of the cultivators swallowed their anger, there were still some forces that joined forces to resist the oppression of the three clans. Of course, these forces fighting the three clans head-on was no different from hitting a rock with an egg. However, these forces that joined forces were native forces of the Hushu realm, and their understanding of the geography of the Hushu realm far surpassed that of the three clans. Therefore, most of these resistance forces fought guerrilla warfare against the three clans and did not fight them head-on at all. This gave the cultivator armies of the three clans a headache. From the information that Zhuoan obtained, he discovered that the core force of these resistance forces was actually the Hong sect that led the four Shengzon and had been fighting against the three clans. The current leader of the Hong sect was Hong Shunwu. When Zhuoan heard this news, he could not help but nod secretly. Hong Shunwu's cultivation path was to cultivate the righteous energy of heaven and earth. It was a completely different path. Although Zhuoan did not walk the pure path of the righteous energy of heaven and earth, he knew that this cultivation path had boundless potential. Especially Hong Shunwu, he had cultivated the righteous energy of heaven and earth for countless years and had now reached a stage where he had accumulated enough. Therefore, Zhuoan was not surprised that his cultivation could surpass the leaders of the four Shengzon realm in a short period of time and become the leader of the alliance forces. Zhuoan took out the communication jade and sent a message to Hong Shunwu. He now needed to confirm the location of Hong Shunwu and the others and then meet up with them. Just relying on Shan Lingyun and the others to rebuild the Huxley realm was not enough. If Hong Shunwu and the others were willing to help rebuild the Huxley realm, it would obviously be able to help the Hushu realm recover faster. Soon, Zhuoan received a reply, and then his expression immediately became gloomy. "Brother Zhuo, what happened?" Duan Jipeng saw that Zhuoan's expression was not very good and hurriedly asked. Zhuoan said in a low voice, "Some of my friends are resisting the three clans, and now the three clans have sent a large number of experts to surround and suppress them. They are not in a good situation now. I need to go over and help my friends. Let's go together." Duan Jipeng smiled. Zhuoan didn't refuse. He nodded and headed towards the location Hong Shunwu gave him. The Red Cliff Mountain was located several thousand kilometers to the west of the ruins of the divine city of Hushu. It was a famous danger zone in the Hushu realm. The terrain was steep, lofty, and unapproachable. It was difficult to see the peak of the mountain. At that moment, the surroundings of the Red Cliff Mountain were faintly discernible. Numerous densely packed silhouettes surrounded the Red Cliff Mountain in a manner that covered the sky and covered the sun. There was a valley in the Red Cliff Mountain. At this moment, there was another group of cultivators in the valley. They were using their divine power to activate the powerful formation around the Red Cliff Mountain. Boom! Boom! Outside the Red Cliff Mountain, the cultivator armies of the three great clans were constantly attacking the formations and restrictions of the Red Cliff Mountain. Within the valley, Hong Shunwu's expression was grave as he looked at the countless attacks coming from outside the mountain. Luo Lingyu silently stayed by Hong Shunwu's side, her pretty face incomparably pale. Behind Hong Shunwu, the four Shengzon sect masters also had ugly expressions. The white-haired Gui Jing came to Hong Shunwu's side and said in a deep voice, "Brother Hong, we can't go on like this. This formation won't be able to hold on for long. We're already at the end of the road. Now, the only choice left is to surrender." Heavenly Star Sacred Lord's eyes flickered as he spoke. Long Duzi and Goddess Qinghuan were silent. However, from their expressions, it could be seen that they were somewhat moved. Hong Shunwu flicked his sleeves and said in a deep voice, "We definitely can't surrender. If we surrender, the three great clans will definitely not let us go. In the end, we'll have to die. It's better to fight to the death. Moreover, Dao Wen has already returned. He's rushing over here. We still have hope." The instant Dao Wen was mentioned, Gui Jing, Heavenly Star Sacred Lord, Long Duzi, and Goddess Qinghuan's eyes all lit up. Back then, when Dao Wen's cultivation was still not high, he had already taken the lead and overshadowed the four of them. However, very quickly, their eyes dimmed. Although Dao Wen was brilliant, there was still a large gap between him and the experts of the three great clans. After all, there were several experts at the ancient star transformation who were surrounding them this time. Back then, Dao Wen was only at the divine domain transformation. It was impossible for him to reach the level of the ancient star transformation in such a short period of time. Dao Wen has already said that he can destroy the 3 great clans when he returns this time, Hong Shenwu said calmly. Here, he knew Zhuowen the earliest and understood the latter the deepest. As long as it was Zhuowen who said it, it would not be groundless. It must be something that he was confident in being able to do. When the 4 great Shengzon sect masters heard this, they could not help but be stunned. Soon after, they shook their heads and did not take Hong Shenwu's words to heart. They only thought that Zhuowen was just boasting. When Zhuowen and the others steered the divine ship and arrived near the Red Cliff Mountain, they saw a large group of cultivator armies from the 3 great clans surrounding the Red Cliff Mountain in layers and layers, making it impossible for even a drop of water to leak through. The arrival of their divine ship naturally attracted the attention of the cultivator armies from the 3 great clans. One after another, unfriendly gazes shot over and landed on Zhuowen, who was standing on the deck. Who are you? 3 figures with powerful auras flew out from the cultivator army. Their terrifying auras firmly locked onto Zhuowen's divine ship. Among the 3 figures, the leader was a burly bearded man. He wore armor covered in blood-red chains and his eyes flickered with a scarlet light. He licked his lips and looked at Zhuowen's group with hostility. 1 at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation and 2 at the early stage. Zhuowen indifferently sized up the 3 of them. He did not answer the big man's question and instead muttered to himself. Who the hell are you? The burly man's gaze immediately became much sharper and his voice became much colder. The killing intent in his eyes became even more terrifying. The person who will kill all of you. Zhuowen stopped the divine ship and took a step forward. He seemed to have teleported and appeared before the burly man. After that, he lightly slapped out with his palm. It seemed slow, but it was actually swift like lightning and unstoppable. The burly man gazed at the simple palm strike as cold sweat dripped down his forehead. He was actually completely unable to notice when Zhuowen appeared. Especially this simple palm strike, it actually gave him the misconception that he was unable to dodge it. In the end, he watched helplessly as the palm strike descended onto his chest. After that, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood as he fell from midair and crashed heavily onto the ground. After the burly man was heavily injured by a single strike from Zhuowen, the 2 early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators behind the burly man had only just reacted. Chapter 4177. Sir, we're from the 3 great clans. We hope you won't meddle in our affairs for the sake of the 3 great clans. As for the people of our 3 clans that you killed, we don't need to care about it. The 2 early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators couldn't help but warn Chen Feng after putting some distance between them and the 3 great clans. Zhuowen smiled. In his eyes, the 3 great clans weren't even worth mentioning. He didn't say anything else. Instead, he slapped out with his right palm, and a powerful palm energy descended from the sky toward the 2 early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators. No. The 2 early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators felt the terrifying palm energy descending upon them, and they couldn't move their limbs at all. They could only watch as the palm energy enveloped them. Poochie. The 2 early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators only had time to let out a miserable cry before exploding into a bloody mist, their bodies and souls destroyed. After Zhuowen killed the 3 leaders of the group in an instant, the other cultivators were all dumbfounded. They couldn't muster up any will to resist, and they all fled. After Zhuowen dealt with the 3 ancient star transformation stage experts in a straightforward manner, Hong Shenwu and the other members of the resistance forces in a valley within the Red Cliff Mountain stood motionless as if they had been petrified. They looked at the scene before them in disbelief, and some of them were even rubbing their eyes. When had Dao Wen become so powerful? He'd actually killed a mid-stage ancient star transformation cultivator and 2 early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators with a wave of his hand. It had to be known that these 3 ancient star transformation realm experts had led the 3 great clans to hunt them down like stray dogs, until they were at the end of their rope. When did Dao Wen become so powerful? Gu Yijing's lips trembled, and her voice was filled with disbelief. The Heavenly Star Sacred Master, Long Duzi, and Qinghuan Female Celestial Maiden looked at each other, their eyes filled with fear and respect. At the same time, they felt a sense of melancholy. Thinking back, Zhuowen was only slightly stronger than them. How long had it been since then? He'd already left them in the dust. This was a huge blow to them. Junior brother Dao Wen has actually become so powerful. Beside Hong Shunwu, Luo Lingyu's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of shock, but more than that, there was joy. Her relationship with Zhuowen had always been pretty good. When she saw how powerful Zhuowen had become, she was happy for him from the bottom of her heart. Hong Shunwu, on the other hand, was giggling foolishly, feeling a sense of pride in his heart. After all, Zhuowen was a member of the Hong sect. It was a great honor for the Hong sect. Outside the Red Cliff Mountain, Zhuowen casually caught a fleeing cultivator. After questioning him, he found out that the resistance faction cultivators were still trapped in the Red Cliff Mountain. At this moment, Hong Shunwu had already ordered people to remove the formation around the Red Cliff Mountain. He laughed heartily as he rushed out, giving Zhuowen a big bear hug. He did not mind that his sloppy clothes might dirty Zhuowen at all. Zhuowen, on the other hand, did not mind. He hugged the sloppy Daoist in front of him tightly, feeling rather happy in his heart. This was because he realized that the sloppy Daoist's cultivation had actually reached the early stage of the ancient star transformation, far surpassing the 4 Shengzon sect masters. No wonder Hong Shunwu could become the leader of the resistance faction. Junior brother Dao Wen, where have you been all this time? Why haven't we heard any news about you? Luo Lingyu asked softly as her beautiful eyes landed on Zhuowen. Hong Shunwu and the others also looked at Zhuowen curiously. Ever since Zhuowen left the Liyuan Master District, it was as if he had evaporated into thin air and disappeared without a trace. Zhuowen smiled and said, after leaving the Liyuan Master District, I went to Hushu Divine City. Right, Dao Wen is my alias. My real name is Zhuowen. Hey, Zhuowen. Could it be that Zhuowen who caused a huge commotion in Hushu Divine City? Gui Jing said in surprise. Zhuowen nodded with a smile, admitting it. On the other hand, Hong Shunwu and the others gasped. Back then, Zhuowen stirred up a storm in Hushu Divine City, causing a sensation in the entire Hushu realm, and everyone took delight in talking about it. However, after Hushu Divine City was destroyed by the 3 great clans, Zhuowen's whereabouts were unknown. Many people thought that he had died. After recovering from his shock, Hong Shunwu thought of something and could not help but ask, Dao. Zhuowen, you didn't come back this time to tell me that you want to take back control of Hushu realm from the 3 great clans, right? Zhuowen shook his head. A trace of disappointment flashed in the eyes of Hong Shunwu and the others, but Zhuowen's next sentence made them open their mouths wide and dumbfounded. I came not only to take back Hushu realm, but also to destroy the 3 great clans, Goldwater, Purple Fantasy, and Divine Eye, Zhuowen said seriously. Hong Shunwu said with a bitter smile, Zhuowen, this joke is not funny. The 3 great clans all have great carefree realm experts, and your cultivation should only be at the peak of the ancient star transformation realm. I advise you not to do anything stupid. Wait until you are strong enough. Then, you can take revenge on the 3 great clans. Why do you have to choose such a sensitive time? Gui Jing and the others nodded repeatedly. With Zhuowen's growth speed, he should be able to reach the great carefree realm in a few decades or 100 years. At that time, he would have the confidence to challenge the 3 great clans. But now, they did not have enough confidence in Zhuowen. Zhuowen did not explain, but said indifferently, Sect Master, Senior Sister Luo, you can rest assured. The 3 great clans are not in my eyes. Hong Shunwu did not try to persuade him. He understood Zhuowen very well and knew that it was useless to try to persuade him. The others sighed in their hearts, thinking that Zhuowen was a little arrogant, but they did not say anything. Next, Zhuowen talked with Hong Shunwu and the others for a while, and roughly understood the current situation of Hushu realm. The Hushu realm was completely divided up by the 3 great clans. Other than the Jinshui clan, who was kind to the cultivators of the territory they had divided, The other two clans were not so kind to the cultivators of the territory they had notified. They almost killed all of them. They treated them like cattle and horses. And the territories divided by the three great clans were all guarded by a late-stage ancient star transformation expert, who would often join forces with the cultivator army to encircle and suppress the resistance forces that appeared in the realm. This time, the three great clans had joined forces and gathered most of the elite cultivator army to encircle and suppress Hong Shunwu's resistance forces. If not for Zhuowen's timely arrival, the resistance forces led by Hong Shunwu would have been doomed. Next, Hong Shunwu brought them to their hidden base. Zhuowen introduced Duan Jipeng, Shan Lingyun, and the others to Hong Shunwu and the others. Of course, they did not know Duan Jipeng's true cultivation, so they did not pay much attention to Duan Jipeng. Chapter 4178. After the cultivator armies of the three great clans failed to encircle and annihilate the Resistance Alliance, news of this immediately spread like a clap of thunder. The three late ancient star transformation cultivators of the three great clans guarding the Hex realm were both shocked and enraged. They didn't expect that someone would appear out of nowhere and ruin their encirclement plan. What angered them even more was that the young man named Zhuowen, who had suddenly appeared and killed the leader of the cultivator armies, had issued a declaration that the cultivator armies of the three great clans had to withdraw from the Hex realm within 3 days. Otherwise, they would be killed without mercy. At the former site of the divine city of Hex stood a magnificent temple. After the destruction of the divine city of Hex, this temple was built by the experts of the three great clans. It was mainly used as a meeting place for the leaders of the three great clans stationed in the Hex realm. At this moment, the highest-level leaders of the three great clans stationed in the Hex realm were gathered in the depths of the temple. Bang! A muscular man with a bare upper body covered in complicated patterns slammed his hand on the table. "You've gone too far. Who does this Zhuowen think he is? Not only did he kill the people of our three great clans, but he also arrogantly said that our cultivator armies had to withdraw from the Hex realm within 3 days." The muscular man was unable to restrain his anger, and his eyes burned with raging flames. Heh, this kid really is arrogant. Does he really think that there's no one in our three great clans? We'll wait for him in the temple. Let's see if he dares to come. The feminine man sitting across from the muscular man had an exceptionally cold expression as he sneered. On the other hand, the green-clothed man sitting on the other side frowned. He muttered Zhuowen's name but didn't interrupt. The muscular man and the feminine man didn't notice the azure-robed man's strange behavior. "Brother Qing Lin, Brother Lai Long and I have decided to gather all our forces in this temple. I'd like to see if that Zhuowen dares to come. Brother Qing Lin, your Jinshui clan should also stand on the same side as us, right?" The feminine man glanced at the silent azure-robed man and asked in a neutral tone. He knew that Qing Lin had been very gentle to the cultivators of the Hushu realm when she ruled over the territory of the Jinshui clan. Compared to their brutal rule, Aobash's territory was like a clear stream. It was because of this contrast that the feminine man and the burly man did not have a good relationship with Aobashi. Naturally, they wanted to drag Aobashi down with them. Aobashi frowned. He thought for a moment and nodded. All right. The feminine man and the muscular man were surprised by Aobashi's straightforwardness, but they didn't think too much about it. They thought that Aobashi had only agreed because of their pressure. After the three of them reached an agreement, they each sent a message to the realm guardians of their respective domains and received unanimous approval. However, what the two men did not know was that Qing Lin had received a secret message from Siku Hongfei. Although Aobash's expression did not change, her heart was in turmoil, as if a huge wave had been set off. This was because the secret message that Siku Hongfei had given her was to assist Zhuowen in killing Lai Long and Yinyu as soon as he arrived at the Divine Hall. Aobashi did not understand Siku Hongfei's decision. After all, Lai Long and Yinyu were the higher-ups of the Purple Mirage and God's Eye. If she assisted Zhuowen in killing the two of them, wouldn't she completely offend the Purple Mirage and God's Eye? However, Aobashi did not dare to disobey Siku Hongfei's orders, nor did she dare to ask for the reason. Zhuowen stood tall on a hidden cliff. His eyes looked through the heavy fog in the direction of the Hushu sacred city in the north. Shan Lingyun and the other members of the Hushu clan followed behind him. Their expressions were very serious. Hong Shenwu and the others stood not far from Zhuowen. There was a trace of worry in their eyes. When the three leaders of the three clans said that they would wait for Zhuowen at the Divine Hall, Zhuowen decided to go to the Divine Hall personally to take back the old site of the Hushu sacred city. At the same time, he would also eliminate the three clans who did not surrender. Let's go. Today, we will take back the Hushu sacred city and chase the three clans out of the Hushu region. Zhuowen spoke softly. However, his voice was like a bell that rang in everyone's hearts. Then, he summoned a divine ship and appeared at the edge of the cliff. Zhuowen stepped in first, followed by the Hushu clan members. Finally, Hong Shenwu and the others hesitated for a moment. Then, they sighed softly and entered the divine ship as well. They had already prepared for the worst. Even if they died this time, they did not want to let the three clans have an easy time. Zhuowen could naturally see that Hong Shenwu and the others were in low spirits. However, he did not explain anything. After he completely took back the old site of the Hushu sacred city, they would naturally understand. After everyone entered the divine ship's deck, Zhuowen steered the ship away from the cliff. The Resistance Alliance's secret base was not far from the Hushu sacred city. It was about 10 hours away. When the divine ship arrived at the outskirts of the old site of the Hushu sacred city, they could clearly see that the divine hall built on the old site was heavily guarded. Visible to the naked eye, cultivator armies surrounded the divine hall in 3 layers. They vaguely formed a strange formation. These cultivator armies immediately noticed the divine ship approaching from afar. They immediately surrounded it, each of them brimming with killing intent. "Who goes there?" The cultivators who surrounded them asked Zhuowen with unfriendly expressions. "Zhuowen." Zhuowen slowly walked out from the ship's bow and said in a calm voice. The cultivator army surrounding the divine ship turned pale with fright. Zhuowen's name naturally resounded like thunder in their ears. They had not expected that this Zhuowen would dare to come to the divine hall alone. This kid was really courting death. Scram. Zhuowen did not waste any time. He only uttered a single word and brazenly attacked. He casually struck out with his palm. Terrifying energy surged out like dense raindrops and landed on the cultivator army. It was like an explosion, causing the cultivator army to explode and die. In the blink of an eye, the cultivator armies surrounding the divine ship were completely routed. More than half of them were dead or injured. Zhuowen flicked his finger. Countless energy blasts exploded, releasing even more terrifying energy that shot toward the rest of the cultivator army. In an instant, the astonishing number of cultivator armies fell into disarray. The casualties were even greater. "Stop!" A loud shout came from within the divine hall. 3 figures quickly rushed out and stood in front of the cultivator army, blocking the terrifying energy blasts. These 3 figures were the leaders of the 3 great clans stationed in the Hushu realm. They were Yin Yu of the Purple Mirage, Lai Long of the God's Eye, and Qing Lin of the Jinshui clan. The one who shouted just now was Lai Long of the God's Eye. "You are Zhuowen?" Yin Yu asked bluntly as he looked coldly at Zhuowen with a feminine expression. "I am," Zhuowen said indifferently. "I can't help but admire your courage. You actually dared to come to your death." Chapter 4179. Bastard. Qing Lin, what are you trying to do? After Lai Long was severely injured and fell from the sky, the feminine man, Yin Yu, narrowed his eyes. He immediately noticed that the one who attacked this time was actually Aobashi, who had been following behind them without saying a word. Yin Yu quickly distanced himself from Qing Lin. His eyes were filled with shock and anger, but at the same time, there was also confusion. Qing Lin should be on the same side as them, so why would she suddenly attack them at this critical juncture? Aobashi's eyes were calm as she led the Jinshui clan's troops to Zhuowen. Then, they all knelt on the ground. This lowly one is Qing Lin, a direct disciple of Lord Siku. Lord Siku knew that Lord Zhuo had come to Hushu realm and specially sent me to pay my respects, Qinglin said respectfully. Zhuowen looked indifferently at the young man kneeling in front of him. He could see that Qinglin was looking down on him. Clearly, Qinglin was willing to kneel to him because of Siku Hongfei's order. However, Zhuowen didn't mind too much and said indifferently, Siku Hongfei didn't come to greet me personally and sent a little direct disciple like you. Qinglin was furious, but she still suppressed her anger and said, Master is still in seclusion. When he heard that Lord Zhuo had returned, he forcibly shortened his seclusion time. He should be able to come out in a few days. Lai Long came out of the pit not far away in a sorry state and glared at Qinglin, who was kneeling in front of Zhuowen. Qinglin, how dare you betray us? Aren't you afraid that our two clans will join forces and destroy your Jinshui clan? You can't bear such a crime. Lai Long had a fiery temper. If it were any other time, he would have gone up and fought Qinglin to the death. However, he had been severely injured by Qinglin's sneak attack. Although he was furious, he suppressed it and didn't dare to rashly charge forward. Yin Yu landed beside Lai Long and looked at Qinglin with an unfriendly expression. Qinglin, turn back and be saved. It's not too late to turn back now. Otherwise, you won't have any chance later, Yin Yu advised. Although they were both at the late-stage ancient star transformation stage, Qinglin was slightly stronger than the two of them, so they didn't want to fight her. Yin Yu's plan was also very good. After pacifying Aobashi and killing Zhuowen and the others, he would go back and complain to Aobashi. Noisy. Zhuowen frowned slightly and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, a terrifying tremor came from underground. It spread out in all directions, layer upon layer. It was extremely terrifying and frightening. Then, a dazzling lone star broke out of the ground, dragging a long tail of light behind it as it rushed towards Yin Yu. Peak ancient star transformation? Yin Yu's expression changed drastically. Without even thinking about it, he summoned his natal lone star to block in front of him. Yin Yu's natal lone star was a vast expanse of white, as if the surface of the star was covered with a thick layer of snow. When Zhuowen's star arrived in an instant and slammed into the white lifebound star, an earth-shattering explosion erupted. Then, a rather ear-piercing shattering sound came from heaven and earth. Yin Yu was horrified to discover that his life's solitary star was only able to resist for a breath of time before it shattered. Among the countless fragments of the star, Zhuowen's star arrived in the blink of an eye and ruthlessly bombarded Yin Yu's body. Yin Yu let out a miserable howl as his entire body exploded into a cloud of blood mist. He couldn't be more dead. The whole place was silent. The cultivator army of the three clans stared blankly at Yin Yu, who had turned into a cloud of blood mist in the blink of an eye. Yin Yu was at least at the late-stage ancient star transformation stage, and this Zhuowen was only at the peak. Although there was a gap between the two, it couldn't be so big. The hot-tempered Lai Long was completely scared out of his wits as his entire body trembled. Yin Yu's strength was almost the same as his, but he couldn't even block a single move from the other party, let alone him. The star was like a hot knife through butter. After destroying Yin Yu, it didn't slow down and continued to rush forward. Its target was the frightened Lai Long. Oh my god, run. Lai Long no longer had any momentum to speak of. He immediately jumped up and screamed as he fled into the distance. He didn't even care about the troops he led. Unfortunately, no matter how fast Lai Long ran, he couldn't escape from Zhuowen's palm. When the star caught up to Lai Long, the latter didn't even have the chance to use his lifebound star and was directly crushed to death. Even his soul didn't have the slightest bit of luck. As for the cultivator army led by Lai Long and Yin Yu, after their two leaders died, they simply knelt on the ground and threw down their weapons, surrendering one after another. When Qinglin saw this scene, his body couldn't help but tremble. The contempt in his eyes completely disappeared and was replaced by deep fear and alarm. This was the first time he saw such a terrifying peak ancient star transformation stage cultivator. His strength was considered extremely strong among the late-stage ancient star transformation stage cultivators. Facing an ordinary peak ancient star transformation stage cultivator, although he wasn't a match, a peak ancient star transformation stage cultivator couldn't kill him. However, this youth in front of him gave him a strong sense of danger. He didn't doubt that if this youth wanted to kill him, it would only take a single move. How could there be such a terrifying ancient star transformation stage cultivator in this world? Qing Lin couldn't help but think back to when Siku Hongfei sent him a message, repeatedly reminding him not to go against Zhuowen. It seemed that Siku Hongfei had long known that this youth was not an ordinary ancient star transformation stage cultivator. His strength couldn't be estimated by an ordinary ancient star transformation stage cultivator. At the same time, Qing Lin was very glad that he didn't offend Zhuowen in any way. Otherwise, he might have ended up in a dangerous situation. Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and the terrifying star sank back into the depths of the ground, disappearing without a trace. Master, I'll leave this place to you from now on. I'll leave the rebuilding of Hushu City to you. By the way, you can mobilize the cultivator army of the 3 clans as you wish. I'll set up restrictions on them. If anyone dares to disobey, they'll immediately be activated and their bodies and souls will be destroyed. Zhuowen turned to look at Shan Lingyun and said with a faint smile. Shan Lingyun giggled, and her eyes narrowed into crescents. The cultivator army of the 3 clans felt a chill run down their spines. Some of the more quick-witted ones immediately gave up on the idea of running away. They were very clear that with their strength, it was impossible for them to escape. Qing Lin smiled bitterly in his heart. Although he was a little dissatisfied with Zhuowen's decision to use the cultivator army of the Jinshui clan as laborious, he didn't dare to raise any objections. After all, he had personally witnessed Zhuowen's ruthless methods. How could he dare to raise any objections? Shan Lingyun led the Hushu clan members and began to assign tasks to the cultivator army of the 3 clans to rebuild Hushu City. Zhuowen naturally fulfilled his promise and set up powerful restrictions on the cultivator army of the 3 clans. He handed the control of the array disk to Shan Lingyun. Chapter 4180. After dealing with the 3 clans' cultivator armies, Zhuowen's gaze fell on Qing Lin, who was standing to the side with a submissive expression. Qing Lin felt his scalp tingle when he sensed Zhuowen's gaze. He raised his head and smiled obsequiously. Lord Zhuo, do you have any other orders? Qing Lin will do whatever it takes for you. Zhuowen didn't seem to mind Qing Lin's sudden change in attitude. He said indifferently, now, send a message to Siku Hongfei. Tell him to come see me today. Otherwise, I will personally go to the Goldwater realm and flatten his lair. But, he doesn't need to live anymore. Qing Lin's expression changed drastically. He didn't expect Zhuowen to ask Siku Hongfei to come see him today. Moreover, if he didn't agree, he would go to the Goldwater realm and flatten Siku Hongfei's lair. Qing Lin even wondered if he had misheard. Although Zhuowen was strong, he was only an ancient star transformation cultivator. Wasn't it a little too arrogant for him to be so rude to Siku Hongfei? Still not going to send the message? Zhuowen glanced at the hesitant Qing Lin and said indifferently. Qing Lin's body trembled. After a moment of hesitation, he took out a communication jade talisman and contacted Siku Hongfei. When Qing Lin received the reply, he was completely shocked. This was because Siku Hongfei had agreed without even asking the reason why Zhuowen had asked him to come today. What was even more unbelievable was that Siku Hongfei had asked him to tell Zhuowen that he was sorry and ashamed. It seemed that Siku Hongfei was very afraid of Zhuowen. Qing Lin looked at Zhuowen with a complicated gaze. The young man before him didn't have a strong cultivation base, but he could instantly kill Yinyu and Lai Long. Even Siku Hongfei didn't dare to go against him. Who exactly was he? Lord Zhuo, Master has already set off. He will definitely arrive today. Qing Lin was even more cautious when facing Zhuowen. The news of the 3 clans' cultivator armies being defeated by Zhuowen spread extremely quickly. In the blink of an eye, most cultivators in the Hushu realm knew about it. For a time, the entire Hushu realm was in a frenzy to overthrow the 3 clans' cultivator armies. The various factions rose up in revolt and started the prelude to resistance. Meanwhile, the cultivator armies of the 3 major clans that were scattered throughout the Hushu realm had no will to fight, and they were being beaten back repeatedly by the opposing forces, suffering heavy casualties. Night fell, and Zhuo Wen and the others stayed in the temple on the old site of Hushu Divine City. However, The arrival of an uninvited guest broke the peace of this place. Siku Hongfei, the realm guardian of the Jinshui clan, hurriedly rushed over and knelt before Zhuo Wen as soon as he entered the divine hall. Siku greets Lord Zhuo Wen, "Please punish me." Under everyone's gazes, Siku Hongfei knelt on the ground and apologized to Zhuo Wen in a humble voice. Inside the temple, the cultivator armies of the three clans and the Hushu realm opened their mouths in shock. Their eyes were locked and filled with disbelief. Qing Lin was so shocked that her mind went blank. This was the first time she had seen the high and mighty Siku Hongfei kneel and beg for forgiveness. Siku Hongfei lowered his head. There was a trace of malice and panic in his eyes. He had already recovered from his injuries. Moreover, he had reached the late stage of the Chenkuan realm. His strength had increased greatly. In terms of strength, he didn't fear Zhuowen at all. What he was afraid of was that his soul imprint was in Zhuowen's hands. If Zhuowen was really angry, he only needed to crush the soul imprint to kill him on the spot. This was also why Siku Hongfei had rushed over without hesitation when he learned that Zhuowen had asked him to come today. He didn't dare to disobey Zhuowen. "Get up. I will have a use for you soon. If your performance is good enough, I can let you regain your freedom," Zhuowen said coolly. Siku Hongfei's eyes lit up. He naturally understood the meaning behind Zhuowen's words. As long as he performed well enough, Zhuowen would return his soul imprint. At that time, he would no longer need to be controlled by Zhuowen. But soon, Siku Hongfei began to hesitate. The purple mirage and God's Eyes cultivation levels were very high. He was confident that he could deal with one of them. However, he couldn't do anything about the other. He looked at Zhuowen. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that Zhuowen's cultivation level was only at the peak of the ancient star transformation. Qing Lin had also told him that Zhuowen had killed Lai Long and Yin Yu with one move. However, he wasn't stupid enough to believe that Zhuowen could really take on a peak late-stage Chenkuan realm expert head-on. One had to know that Zhuowen had been able to severely injure him and force him to voluntarily give up his soul imprint. All of this was because he had been severely injured by Lu Yuanbar's self-destruction during his battle with Lu Yuanbar. He was almost an arrow at the end of its flight, which gave Zhuowen an opportunity to take advantage of him. Therefore, he still had a trace of misgivings about Zhuowen's strength. Zhuowen naturally saw the worry in Siku Hongfei's eyes. He sneered in his heart but didn't reveal his strength. Siku Hongfei was now only his servant. He really didn't have the obligation to tell him everything. Time gradually passed. The construction of Hushu City progressed very quickly. In less than 10 days, a tenth of the city's construction had been completed. As for the cultivator armies of the three major clans in the Hushu realm, they were completely chased out of the Hushu realm by the various resistance forces. For a time, the cultivators of Hushu realm fell into an atmosphere of jubilation. Everyone held banquets to celebrate the moment of liberation. At the same time, they all raised their cups in the direction of Hushu City in the north, shouted Zhuowen's name, and drank it all in one gulp. Every living being in the Hushu realm knew that their liberation was only possible because of Zhuowen. Therefore, all the cultivators of Hushu realm were grateful to Zhuowen and raised their cups to celebrate Zhuowen's contributions. Of course, Zhuowen, who lived in the Divine Hall, didn't know that his name had spread throughout Hushu realm and was being praised and thanked by everyone. With Zhuowen's personality, even if he knew, he wouldn't take it to heart. He didn't come to Hushu realm and overthrow the three great clans for the sake of the cultivators of Hushu realm. He only fulfilled his promise to help Huxley rise again. At this moment, Zhuowen was sitting on the main seat in the Divine Hall with a playful smile on his face. He said calmly, "The purple mirage and gods, I received the news too slowly. They only found out today that their cultivator armies have been defeated. They've been defeated." In the Divine Hall, Duan Jipeng, Siku Hongfei, Qing Lin, Shan Lingyun, and a group of other important figures were also present. Siku Hongfei hurriedly replied, "Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai have been in seclusion. As long as it's not something major, their clans don't dare to disturb them. It's mainly because this matter is too important that those two old fellows were forced to come out of seclusion. They should have made breakthroughs. Sir, can you deal with them? Chapter 4181. In the Purple Illusion Domain and the Divine Eye Domain, Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai came out of seclusion after they learned that their clan's cultivator armies were almost completely wiped out in the Hushu Domain. The two of them quickly contacted each other and discussed secretly through voice transmission. They decided to join forces and attack the Hushu Domain. The Purple Illusion Realm and the Divine Eye Realm were adjacent realms to begin with. At the intersection of the two realms, two mighty cultivator armies had gathered. The two cultivator armies were led by Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai. However, the two of them didn't look too good. Their expressions were gloomy. Brother Zhu, according to the news, the guy who chased away our three clans' cultivator armies is a guy named Zhuoan. I saw this guy in the Hushu Domain, but I didn't pay much attention to him. I didn't expect him to grow so much in such a short time. Ling Xinghai frowned slightly and said to Zhu Yangkai in a low voice. Zhu Yangkai nodded. He had some recollection of Zhuo Wen. Back when they had entered the divine city of Hushu through the spacetime turbulence, they had attacked and killed most of the Hushu clan's elite juniors around the spacetime portal. Zhuoan was there at that time. He was the only one who escaped their attack and escaped safely. Also, I contacted that old bastard Siku Hongfei. That old bastard refused to join forces with us to attack the Hushu Domain. What's even more unbelievable is that the old bastard entered the Hushu Domain alone and had a secret meeting with that Zhuoan. Zhu Yangkai said angrily. Ling Xinghai's pupils shrank slightly. He didn't expect Siku Hongfei to not only refuse to join forces with them, but also meet with that Zhuoan himself. They couldn't help but think more about it. No matter what relationship Siku Hongfei has with that Zhuoan, with the two of us joining forces, even if it's that old bastard Siku Hongfei and that Zhuoan, we can still trample them all. Zhu Yangqi's temper flared up. He said angrily. Ling Xinghai nodded. Although he was surprised that Siku Hongfei went to see Zhuoan, he didn't think too much of it. He had already heard that Zhuoan was just a piece of trash at the peak of the ancient star transformation realm. So what if he joined forces with Siku Hongfei? There was a huge gap between them and him and them. Let's go. I want to see what kind of storm Zhuoan can stir up. Ling Xinghai sneered. Then, he and Zhu Yangkai led the two armies of cultivators and majestically rushed into the Hex Domain. The divine city of Hushu Domain was finally rebuilt. The Hushu Domain of the Hushu Domain. Zhuo Wen nodded inwardly as he stood in the majestic and vast divine city suspended high in the sky. The Hushu divine city was Hushu rebuilt. Hushu God divine was Hushu Domain ancient Hushu Domain. Streaks of fire-like light circulated on the surface of the divine city. They moved and flickered rapidly. They were extremely powerful formation runes and restrictions. After the Hushu Domain was rebuilt, Zhuoan personally set up the Hushu Domain of the Hushu Domain. These Hushu Domain's restrictions complemented each other. They were all at the peak of the first firmament of the Eternal Realm. When combined, they were almost at the second firmament of the Eternal Realm. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that any cultivator army from a lower realm who came to attack the Hushu Domain was basically courting death. Even if the experts and armies of intermediate realms came, the Hushu Domain could block them for a while and escape with ease. After the Hushu Domain was rebuilt, the captives of the three clans were released. The Hushu people, Hong Shunwu, and the others all settled down in the Hushu Domain. Shan Lingyun was a cautious person. During the reconstruction of the Hushu Domain, she had built a good relationship with Hong Shunwu and the others. When Shan Lingyun recruited Hong Shunwu, Luo Lingyu, and the four sect masters of the Shengzon Domain to become the upper echelons of the Huxley Domain, Hong Shunwu and the others agreed without hesitation. The main reason was that Shan Lingyun was sincere enough. Coupled with the tempting conditions, Hong Shunwu and the others dispelled their worries. At the same time, Shan Lingyun sent out invitations to recruit anyone with strength in the Hushu Domain. The conditions and bargaining chips she gave were very generous. Most of the cultivators in the Hushu Domain were eager to give it a try. They all rushed into the Hushu Domain, ready to join the Huxley Domain. Of course, although Shan Lingyun's conditions were very generous, not everyone could be selected. Only those with enough strength and background would be accepted. As for those fakes who were just there to make up the numbers, they were naturally rejected. While Shan Lingyun was recruiting talents, Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng were cultivating in their own rooms. As Duan Jipeng had just condensed the cosmic avatar, he needed a lot of time to consolidate and familiarize himself with the new realm. Zhuowen, on the other hand, had been focusing on the alchemy Dao and array Dao. His alchemy Dao and array Dao had reached the peak of the first heaven of the eternal level. He was only half a step away from reaching the second heaven of the eternal level. However, this half a step was as difficult as reaching the heavens. He had tried countless times, but all of them ended in failure. Sigh. If only Bai Tiangong was a second heaven of the eternal level alchemy master and array Dao master. Maybe I wouldn't be stuck at the peak of the first heaven of the eternal level. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes and sighed regretfully. However, he didn't dwell on this matter. Speaking of which, the progress of his alchemy Dao and array Dao was already very fast. He had only cultivated for a few years, but his alchemy Dao and array Dao had already reached the first heavenly layer of eternal realm. If some old guys knew about this, they would definitely be ashamed. Zhuowen comprehended it for a few more days, and he decisively gave up after he noticed that it was like trying to put out a burning cart with a cup of water. Instead, he walked out of Hushu City to take a stroll and relax or exchange his experiences with Duan Jipeng, and he benefited greatly from it. Finally, half a month after the Hushu domain was rebuilt, a dense mass of shadows appeared in the distant sky. Waves of terrifying killing intent surged out from the shadows and rained down on the surroundings of Hushu City. During this period of time, due to Shan Lingyun's widespread distribution of hero invitations, the originally deserted surroundings of Hushu Holy City could be said to be extremely lively. Even the Hushu Holy City had an endless stream of people coming and going. When the terrifying killing intent surged over, all the cultivators inside and outside the domain changed their expressions drastically. They looked fearfully at the large mass of shadows that was rapidly approaching. Those with sharp eyes immediately realized that the shadows weren't dark clouds, but an army of cultivators with imposing auras. Oh no, that's the army of cultivators from the Purple Mirage and God's Eye. They're going to attack the Hushu domain. Oh no, why are there so many cultivators in the army? There are at least 100,000 of them. The Hushu domain can't contend with them. Chapter 4182. Everyone, Hushu City is covered in powerful formations and restrictions. Even the combined forces of the Purple Mirage and God's Eye won't be able to break through them. Just stay in the city. On the towering city walls of the Divine City, a beautiful lady's voice reverberated throughout the entire city. She was Samai, who had received Zhuowen's orders to calm everyone down. The commotion in the city calmed down a lot after hearing Samai's words. Although many people were still skeptical, they finally calmed down a lot. Zhuowen led everyone up the city walls in the depths of the city. Zhuowen stood on top of the city walls and looked at the approaching cultivator army in the distance with a disdainful sneer on his face. Not long after, the cultivator army arrived in the sky above the city. Their armor was cold, and their aura was like a rainbow. At the front, Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai glanced coldly at Zhuowen, then their gazes landed on Siku Hongfei behind Zhuowen. "Brother Siku, are you siding with that Aunt Zhuowen?" Ling Xinghai asked indifferently. Siku Hongfei's expression was ugly. He glanced at Zhuowen's back. Although he was worried, he knew that he was already on Zhuowen's side. No matter how bad the situation was, he had to continue walking. Zhuowen said indifferently, "Zhu Yangkai, Ling Xinghai, you're too slow. I've been waiting for you here for a long time." Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai were stunned. They did not expect that Zhuowen would not beg for mercy the moment they met. Instead, he spoke such arrogant words. "Oh, waiting for us? Are you waiting to die?" Ling Xinghai sneered. Zhuowen shook his head and said, "The two of you can cripple your own cultivation and give up the treasury of your clans. I can be merciful and not destroy your clans, so your clans can still survive in this world. The moment these words were spoken, the entire divine city fell into a long period of silence. Zhu Yangkai, Ling Xinghai, and the cultivators in Hushu City all looked at Zhuowen strangely. Was this Zhuowen crazy? How could he say such arrogant words? Could it be that he couldn't see the strength of Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai, as well as the terrifying cultivator army behind them? Siku Hongfei's eyelids twitched as he grumbled in his heart. He thought that Zhuowen was too unrestrained in his words. There was no room for negotiation at all. After Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai regained their senses, they flew into a rage. You're courting death. Today, our army of 100,000 will crush Hushu City, kill everyone in Divine City, then slaughter everyone in Hushu Realm. Zhu Yangkai was the most hot-tempered of them all. He yelled loudly, commanding the cultivators of God's Eye to attack the city. Cultivators descended from the sky, blotting out the sky and blotting out the sun. In an instant, they bombarded the divine city of Hushu. When these cultivators approached Hushu City, countless formation runes flashed on the surface of the city, erupting with violent energy. Then, like moths to a flame, these cultivators were blocked, crushed, and destroyed by the formation runes when they were several hundred feet away from Hushu City. In the blink of an eye, 20,000 cultivators were annihilated by the terrifying formation runes on the surface of the city. They didn't even have time to scream. The rest of the cultivators were terrified when they saw what happened to the 20,000 cultivators. They all turned around and fled in the direction away from the city. Zhuowen sneered. He slowly took out a formation disc and threw it out. The colorful formation runes that surrounded the surface of the divine city suddenly left the surface of the divine city and shot toward the fleeing cultivators like hidden weapons. Shrill screams rang out. Most of the fleeing cultivators were smashed into pieces by the formation runes. Only a small number of them escaped danger and returned to Zhu Yangqi's side. Zhu Yangkai was dumbfounded. He looked at the fleeing cultivators and couldn't recover from the shock for a while. In the city, the group of people who were worried that the city would be destroyed burst into an earth-shattering uproar after a moment of silence. They cheered endlessly. At the same time, they were terrified and in awe of the terrifying formation runes on the city. Ling Xinghai, who was about to order his cultivators to attack, forcefully withdrew the order and quickly led the cultivators of the purple mirage to retreat a distance. It's actually a first firmament of the eternal level formation. No wonder a mere ant like you is so confident. So this is what you're relying on. Ling Xinghai looked at the formation runes on the surface of the city in horror. His eyes were full of fear as he spoke in a deep voice. Zhu Yangkai also came back to his senses. He led the defeated cultivators back to Ling Xinghai's side and looked at the young man on the city wall in shock and anger. Siku Hongfei lowered his head silently. His eyes were filled with deep fear. Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai might think that Zhuowen had obtained the formation of the city, but he knew very well that it was set up by Zhuowen himself. He didn't know much about the Tao of formations, and Zhuowen had never activated the Grand Formation after setting it up. Therefore, he really didn't know what level the Grand Formation Zhuowen had set up was. He only thought it was an ordinary Grand Formation. He didn't expect it to be a first firmament of the eternal level formation. In that case, wasn't Zhuowen a first firmament of the eternal level formation Tao Divine Master? Siku Hongfei took a deep breath and looked deeply at Zhuowen. He no longer had any other thoughts in his mind. How do you know what I'm capable of? To be honest, it's easy for me to kill you, Zhuowen said indifferently. Ling Xinghai narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Arrogant brat, since you're so confident, do you dare to fight me? I'd like to see if you're as capable as you claim." Zhuowen raised his head, looked at Ling Xinghai indifferently, and said sarcastically, "Trying to goad me? What a cheap trick." Ling Xinghai retorted, "Think what you want. I think you're just an ant who doesn't dare to talk big. I can come out and fight, but you're not qualified," Zhuowen said indifferently. Ling Xinghai was furious. He said coldly, "You're just an ancient star transformation cultivator, and I'm already at the late stage of the universe tribulation. You say I'm not qualified? Isn't that too ridiculous? Zhuowen didn't speak. He raised his right hand and pointed at Zhu Yangkai, who was beside Ling Xinghai, and said with a slight smile, "If you two fight together, you're barely qualified." Ling Xinghai and Zhu Yangqi's pupils shrank into needles. They looked at the figure standing on the city wall in disbelief. Inside and outside the divine city, all the cultivators were in an uproar. They suspected that there was something wrong with their ears. Zhuowen was just at the peak of the ancient star transformation. He dared to challenge two powerhouses at the late stage of the universe tribulation. Where did he get his courage from? Did he think he was one of those monstrous geniuses on the outer realm heavenly list? Since you insist on seeking death, we'll fulfill your wish. Chapter 4183. In the distant sky above the huge Hushu city, a black mass of soldiers was approaching. Ling Xinghai and Zhu Yangkai stood side by side in front of the shocking army. Their auras were like rainbows, and their auras were vast. In the void behind them, a huge Chen Kuan world floated. Surging tribulation energy ceaselessly surged out from the Chen Kuan world, and it was like numerous strange lightning snakes that flashed about wantonly. The two huge Chen Kuan worlds spanned across the sky above the Hushu city. To most of the cultivators in the city, it was like choking their throats. The auras of the great tribulation of heaven and earth experts were simply too much pressure for them. "Disciple, are you sure you can handle the two of them alone?" Shan Lingyun's watery eyes were filled with worry. Although she knew that Zhuowen's strength was not weaker than the experts of the great tribulation of heaven and earth, she was still a little worried when facing two late-stage experts of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. "Lord Shuo, I am willing to share the burden with you." Siku Hongfei also hurriedly stepped forward and respectfully asked for instructions. Zhuowen waved his hand. Before he could speak, Duan Jipeng, who was standing beside him, smiled faintly and said, "Don't underestimate Brother Zhuo's strength. Not to mention two late-stage experts of the great tribulation of heaven and earth, he is not even afraid of peak experts of the great tribulation of heaven and earth." Siku Hongfei's heart trembled, and then he secretly shook his head, thinking that Duan Jipeng was exaggerating. Zhuowen patted Shan Lingyun's little head, then leaped out of the city and landed in front of Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai. Countless cultivators in the Hushu city were in an uproar. They did not expect that Zhuowen would actually do as he said. He really planned to fight two late-stage experts of the great tribulation of heaven and earth alone. Lord Shuo is too impulsive. How can he fight Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai like this? What should we do? Lord Shuo is the great benefactor who liberated the Hushu region. We can't just watch as he enters the tiger's den. If Lord Shuo dies because of this, we will fight Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai even if we die. In the divine city, countless cultivators let go of the fear in their hearts and prepared to fight with the two great clans. The moment Shuo had liberated Hushu city, his reputation in their hearts had soared to godlike heights. "Zhuowen, I really admire you. Not only do you have the arrogance to talk big, but you also have the courage to court death." Zhu Yangqi's gaze was incomparably cold as he spoke in a strange tone. But Zhuowen shook his head and said, "You're wrong here. I should be the one admiring the both of you." Admire us? What do you mean?" Ling Xinghai frowned and asked. "I admire you guys for not taking the path to heaven and entering the gates of hell." Zhuowen shrugged. Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai were thoroughly enraged by Zhuowen's words. This kid's cultivation was clearly not strong, but he had repeatedly despised and angered them. Did they really think that they were pushovers who could be easily manipulated? "Little bastard, come and die." Zhu Yangkai was the first to be unable to restrain himself. He soared through the air, his entire body ignited with an inextinguishable terrifying flame. The vast universe world behind him was filled with densely packed heavenly fire mines, as well as gigantic volcanoes that spewed lava. Wherever Zhu Yangkai passed, matter would vaporize and space would burn into nothingness. His momentum was exceptionally terrifying. Ling Xinghai leaped into the air, drawing an arc in the air, and circled behind Zhuowen, blocking the space between Zhuowen and the divine city. His palm flickered with extremely dense starlight, causing people to have no doubt that if he were to strike with his palm, it would definitely be terrifying. Are you guys still so arrogant? I've already given you so many chances, but unfortunately, you guys can't even grasp a single one. Zhuowen saw that Ling Xinghai had only cut off his path of retreat and did not attack together with Zhu Yangkai, and could not help but shake his head. Ling Xinghai sneered again and again, thinking that Zhuowen was just boasting because of his pride. Boom, boom, boom. Zhu Yangqi's speed was extremely fast, bringing along a terrifyingly high-temperature wave of air. He arrived in front of Zhuowen in the blink of an eye. He smashed his fist over, and the momentum of his fist burned with surging heavenly fire, as if it would never be extinguished. Zhuowen's expression was calm. He slowly raised his right hand, opened his 5 fingers, and pinched Zhu Yangqi's imposing fist. After that, countless cultivators inside and outside the divine city were shocked to discover that Zhu Yangqi's fist, which was enough to shock the heavens and make ghosts and gods cry, was actually casually pinched by Zhuowen, and could not move at all. Zhu Yangqi's pupils constricted. He roared and wanted to withdraw his right fist, but he found that his right fist seemed to have sunk into a swamp, and he could not pull it out. Late stage of the universe tribulation? It's indeed a little weak. Zhuowen's expression was calm, the corners of his mouth curled up, and he said a mocking sentence that almost made Zhu Yangkai vomit blood. You're dead. Zhu Yangkai felt that he had been greatly insulted. His eyes turned blood red, and his left fist and legs turned into terrifying weapons, smashing towards Zhuowen's vital points. At the same time, Zhu Yangqi's entire body burned with extremely terrifying flames, enveloping Zhuowen's entire body. In addition, Zhu Yangkai did not stop. In the universe world behind him, countless volcanoes erupted, and magma spewed out, condensing in the sky, turning into a flood dragon formed from magma. The flood dragon was extraordinary. Its scales were clearly visible, and a pair of fiery divine wings grew out of its back. The flood dragon roared and rushed out of the Qian Kuan world. It swooped down and opened its bloody mouth, wanting to swallow Zhuowen. Zhuowen sneered, but he did not do anything. Zhu Yangkai laughed complacently. His limbs were like weapons, and he began to attack Zhuowen fiercely, making it impossible for him to defend against the huge flood dragon that was about to crush him. Zhuowen naturally saw through Zhu Yangqi's intention, but he did not say anything. He just dealt with it as it came, completely ignoring the huge flood dragon that was getting closer and closer. Be careful. The people in Hushu Divine City cried out in alarm and warned Zhuowen. Too late. Zhu Yangkai laughed wantonly. The flood dragon was only a foot away from Zhuowen. In half a breath's time, it would completely penetrate Zhuowen's body. Under countless shocked gazes, the flood dragon roared. When it was finally about to completely penetrate Zhuowen's body, a sword light soared into the sky. The sword light illuminated the sky, and the sword chi swept across a radius of hundreds of millions of miles. Then, the imposing flood dragon's body froze in the void. The huge flood dragon's head that was a foot away from Zhuowen's back suddenly tilted, and the huge dragon's head was chopped off. It fell from the sky and finally fell to the ground. The huge dragon's body melted into countless drops of magma, dispersing into countless black solidified magma in the air. Chapter 4184. Zhu Yangkai was shocked. He stared at the Taiyu sacred sword, his heart pounding violently. He could clearly sense the aura of death on the sword. The sword was too dangerous, enough to threaten his life. Zhu Yangkai roared and stopped bothering Zhuowen. He quickly retreated. Zhuowen hovered in the air and looked coldly at Zhu Yangkai. He pinched the sword fingers on his right hand and slashed down. The Taiyu Saint sword turned into a streak of sword light and descended from the sky, landing heavily on Zhu Yangqi's head. Zhu Yangkai could not dodge and could only use the Qian Kuan world to block in front of him. Boom! The sword light soared into the sky, its power shattering the void. The moment it landed on the Qian Kuan world, it completely shook it. The universal world was on the verge of collapse. Then, it completely collapsed, turning into countless energy fragments. Under Zhu Yangqi's fearful gaze, the sword light turned into a ray of light and completely pierced through Zhu Yangqi's forehead. Zhu Yangkai stared at Zhuowen. His soul was completely crushed by the Taiyu sacred sword, and he fell from the sky with his eyes wide open. When his body finally hit the ground, it was torn apart and turned into countless fine powder. He couldn't be more dead. Countless cultivators in the divine city were petrified. They were so quiet that it was a mess. They stared at the disappearing body of Zhu Yangkai. Their mouths were agape, but no words came out. Originally, Ling Xinghai had been standing between Zhuo Wen and God City with his arms crossed across his chest. But now, the playful smile on his face had long since disappeared. Instead, it was replaced with shock and deep fear. Zhu Yangkai was dead, just like that. Ling Xinghai suddenly felt a sharp gaze directed at him. His neck stiffened as he slowly raised his head to look at Zhuo Wen. Zhuo Wen was staring coldly at him, grinning at him. Ling Xinghai's hair stood on end. He couldn't help but take dozens of steps back. Ling Xinghai, now it's your turn. Zhuo Wen slowly walked towards Ling Xinghai, his calm voice reverberating between heaven and earth. Ling Xinghai's face was gloomy. He retreated again and said with some resentment, "You hid your cultivation. You are really shrewd. If not for Brother Zhu's carelessness, how could you have killed him so easily?" Zhuowen's footsteps did not stop as he said casually, "Ling Xinghai, haven't I already told you? Neither one of you is qualified to fight me. If you join forces, you might just be qualified. However, you didn't listen to my opinion and insisted on fighting me one-on-one. Therefore, your deaths are not worth regretting." Ling Xinghai's face was gloomy as he said in a low voice, "Zhuowen, let's talk. If you let us go, I'll immediately withdraw from the Hushuan realm with my army and give you my purple mirage's treasury." Zhuowen wasn't surprised by Ling Xinghai's surrender. He just shook his head and said with a smile, "I can only show you mercy once. If you miss it, you've missed it. Today, you and your army will die here." Ling Xinghai's face changed drastically. He suddenly shouted, "Everyone, listen to my order. Kill this kid together. I will reward you handsomely after this." As soon as Ling Xinghai's words left his mouth, the 50,000-strong army of the Purple Illusion clan rushed over in unison, and a series of terrifying attacks were launched towards Zhuo Wen. How despicable. Ling Xinghai was deliberately stalling for time just now. In fact, he was secretly communicating with the 50,000 soldiers to encircle senior brother Zhuo. Inside Hushuan Divine City, Samai couldn't help but curse when she saw this scene. Countless cultivators in Hushuan Divine City also cursed Ling Xinghai for being despicable and shameless. He went back on his word and even mobilized his army to encircle Zhuowen. Ling Xinghai naturally didn't have time to pay attention to the curses in Hushuan Divine City. After the 50,000 soldiers launched their attack, he also launched a thunderous attack, hoping to completely destroy Zhuowen under this joint attack. Ling Xinghai summoned the Chenkuan world. Mysterious starlight swept out from the Chenkuan world and poured into Zhuowen's head like rivers flowing into the sea. At the same time, the attacks of the 50,000 soldiers swept over and landed heavily on Zhuowen's body. Immediately, with Zhuo Wen at the center, the area within a radius of several thousand kilometers was filled with multicolored light. Afterwards, terrifying explosions rang out endlessly. "Kill!" Ling Xinghai roared, and the army of 50,000 rushed over. Not long after the attack was launched, they rushed towards Zhuo Wen to kill him. But soon, Ling Xinghai was shocked to find that the 50,000 soldiers exploded into clouds of blood mist as soon as they came within a few hundred feet of Zhuowen. He also finally found that a few hundred feet away from Zhuowen, the brilliance of formation runes was circulating and emitting a terrifying aura. These formation runes were like a meat grinder. As long as the 50,000 soldiers came close, they would be crushed into powder. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 soldiers were unknowingly crushed into powder by these dense formation runes. No one knew whether they were dead or alive. The remaining 40,000 soldiers were scared out of their wits. They didn't dare to charge forward and retreated. "Since you're here, don't leave." An indifferent voice came from the core of the explosion. The densely packed formation runes rushed out like swimming fish, completely enveloping the army of 40,000. Inside the endless formation runes, screams rose and fell. A large number of cultivators were crushed by the formation runes at every moment. A figure floated out from the explosion. He was surrounded by a powerful divine sword that shielded him from the terrifying energy of the explosion. So powerful. This is Master Zhuo's real strength. In the divine city of Hushu, countless cultivators stared at the slender figure walking out of the explosion with burning admiration in their eyes. This moment, this figure, would be unforgettable and engraved in their hearts. Ling Xinghai was completely scared out of his wits. He couldn't care less about his 50,000 soldiers. Like a stray dog, he fled into the distance. Ling Xinghai, you can't escape either. Zhuowen looked at Ling Xinghai's back. He used 2 fingers of his right hand as a sword and pointed at his forehead. His powerful spirit condensed into the shape of a sword that was dozens of feet long. He flicked his finger, and the huge spirit sword intent broke through the air and disappeared into the distance. The spirit was much faster than the body. The spirit sword intent was formed by the spirit. It was so fast that even the Taiyu sacred sword couldn't compare to it. Moreover, Zhuowen's spirit had already reached the peak of the Great Tribulation of Universe. The spirit sword intent he created now was so powerful that even a peak Great Tribulation of Universe expert spirit would be severely injured if they took it head-on. Ling Xinghai was only at the late stage of the Great Tribulation of Universe. How could he withstand Zhuowen's terrifying spirit sword intent? Chapter 4185. Ling Xinghai, who was running away, suddenly stopped in mid-air. He covered his head with both hands and his body trembled violently as he let out a series of shrill screams. Everyone looked over and was horrified to find that Ling Xinghai's face was ferocious and bleeding from his 7 orifices. He looked like a terrifying ghost that had crawled out of hell. Ling Xinghai clutched his head as he stared at Zhuowen. His bloodshot eyes were filled with regret and begging for mercy. Unfortunately, Zhuowen's expression was calm. He just looked at Ling Xinghai silently and had no intention of letting him go. Ling Xinghai let out a sorrowful cry and suddenly closed his eyes. His stalwart body fell powerlessly from mid-air and crashed heavily on the ground. Boom! Because of Ling Xinghai's fall, the entire ground shook violently. The Qiankuan world that had been floating behind Ling Xinghai also collapsed because of this. It dimmed and dissipated with his death. After Zhuowen completely dealt with Ling Xinghai, not far away, the army that was trapped by countless formation patterns was completely crushed. Not a single one survived. The sky, which was originally covered by the black mass of the army, was revealed after the clouds and mist parted. Only a figure was left standing there quietly, like a god that had descended to the mortal world. Inside and outside the divine city, there was silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with worship and reverence. It was unbelievable that an ancient star could shake the great Liberty realm. Today, they had broadened their horizons by witnessing such a grand occasion. Even the peerless genius who ranked first on the outer world heavenly list might not be able to match Zhuowen's demeanor today. On the city wall, Siku Hongfei clenched and unclenched his fists. His palms were already covered in sweat. He looked at the figure standing in the void with a complicated and bitter smile on his face. He had still underestimated Zhuowen. The young man who had fought him with great difficulty when he was seriously injured had grown so fast that even he found it unbelievable. In front of Hushu Divine City, he had killed 2 supreme experts in the late stage of the Qiankuan tribulation with a single sword strike. Such strength and demeanor made Siku Hongfei feel ashamed of his inferiority. In Siku Hongfei's heart, he was even more afraid and wary of Zhuowen. He no longer had any other thoughts. F***ck. Zhuowen, how could he be this strong? Is there something wrong with my eyes? Hong Shenwu shouted loudly, his eyes wide open, expressing the disbelief in his chest. Inside the city walls, the other people were not shocked by Hong Shenwu's loss of composure because they were also deeply shocked. How could they have the mind to care about Hong Shenwu? Luo Lingyu's cherry lips were also slightly agape, unable to utter a single word for a long time. The 4 Shengzon sect masters looked as if they had seen a ghost, and the reverence they had for Zhuowen in their hearts grew countless times stronger. On the other hand, Shan Lingyun was smiling heartlessly. Her smile was filled with pride and arrogance. She was just short of pointing at Zhuowen and showing off to others that he was her disciple, the disciple that she had taught. Zhuowen strolled leisurely and slowly landed on the city wall. He was immediately surrounded by a group of people. Siku Hongfei hurried forward and prostrated himself before Zhuowen, begging for forgiveness. "My lord, Siku is guilty. My lord, please punish Siku." Zhuowen smiled as he looked at Siku Hongfei, who was kneeling on the ground in fear and trepidation, and asked, "Guilty? Then do you know how you are guilty?" Siku Hongfei braced himself and said, "Previously, when you said that you could get rid of Zhu Yangkai and Ling Xinghai, I was filled with disdain and was very suspicious of you. This is Siku's great crime." Zhuowen looked at Siku Hongfei indifferently. He was no longer a newborn calf, so he naturally understood the meaning behind Siku Hongfei's words. Siku Hongfei was afraid that his lack of effort would make Zhuowen feel uncomfortable, so he used this opportunity to ask for forgiveness. At the same time, he also had the intention of confiding in Zhuowen. Zhuowen stretched out his hands and helped Siku Hongfei up. He smiled and said, "This small matter is not worth mentioning. As long as you sincerely work for me from now on, I will naturally fulfill my promise to you." Siku Hongfei was very clever. When he heard that there was hope, he immediately cupped his hands towards Zhuowen and said gratefully, "Thank you for your magnanimity, my lord. This lowly one is willing to offer the Jinshui clan's treasury with both hands. Please kindly accept it, Lord Zhuo." Siku Hongfei added icing on the cake and quickly brought up the matter of offering the treasury. Zhuowen's eyes flashed as he shook his head and said, "This is not enough." Siku Hongfei's face stiffened. He braced himself and asked carefully, "Then, my lord, what do you mean? One treasury is not enough. Have you forgotten about the purple mirage and God's eyes treasury?" Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Siku Hongfei quickly nodded and said, "You are right, my lord. I will personally lead the Jinshui clan's army to the purple mirage and God's eye domains to retrieve their treasuries for you, my lord. In the future, the Jinshui clan will be Huxley's vassal clan. What do you think of my proposal, my lord?" Siku Hongfei looked at Zhuowen with a flattering smile on his face. He rubbed his hands and said with a covetous tone, "I will send people from the Hushu clan to go with you to the purple mirage and God's eyes treasury. Also, if there are people from the two clans who are willing to surrender, there is no need to kill them all. Collect their soul imprints for Huxley's use. Do you understand?" Zhuowen reminded. Siku Hongfei nodded repeatedly. How would he dare to refute Zhuowen? Naturally, he would listen to Zhuowen. "Now, you may go." Zhuowen waved his hand. Siku Hongfei understood and retreated. He prepared to return to the Jinshui clan and lead the Jinshui clan's elite army to attack the Purple Mirage and God's Eye domains. After losing Ling Xinghai, Zhu Yangkai, and their elite army, the Purple Mirage and God's Eye domains had lost less than 10% of their combat power. With Siku Hongfei's strength and the Jinshui clan's elite army's combat power, conquering the two domains would not be a big problem. After Siku Hongfei left, Zhuowen sent Samai and Tuor Sheng to accompany Siku Hongfei to the Purple Mirage and God's Eye domains. Although Siku Hongfei's soul imprints were under Zhuowen's control, he did not dare to act rashly. However, after conquering the Purple Mirage and God's Eye domains, if this old man did something in secret or did whatever he wanted without anyone's supervision, it would be troublesome for Zhuowen. This was why he sent Samai and Tuor Sheng to travel with him. Their main purpose was to supervise him. After dealing with Siku Hongfei, Zhuowen turned around and found that everyone on the city wall was staring at him. That gaze was like that of a hungry wolf that suddenly saw a delicious prey after being starved for many days. It made Zhuowen feel an inexplicable chill. "Zhuowen, you have to give me a good explanation now. I didn't expect you to be so powerful." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.